King of France. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276 Parliamentary Resolution, Attack on the Rhine. At noon on May 13, 1793, the French army attacked the main force of the coalition forces invading France. The main force of the coalition forces was almost defeated, but at the critical moment, the coalition forces that had surrounded Verdun arrived to reinforce, allowing the main force of the coalition forces to retreat to the border. And Ning wanted to pursue, but Berthier stopped him. Our supplies can no longer keep up, and the casualties of each unit are very serious. Berthier said with a serious face, because there is not enough wine to wash the wounds, many people can only use traditional methods to treat, and the whole army has been seriously reduced in number. Moreover, after so many days of continuous forced marches, the physical exhaustion of the troops has reached the limit, and they rely entirely on high morale to maintain it. It is not surprising that they collapse at any time. And Ning pursed his lips. He originally thought that he should be able to win another complete victory this time, and then capture Marshal Alvenzi and the Duke of Brunswick and send them to Paris for a parade. But what Berthier said was indeed true. After many days of forced marches and continuous fighting, the troops were seriously overdrawn. Many people have not eaten for more than 14 hours. After holding his breath for a few seconds, and Ning sighed, order the troops to rest where they are, and ask the rear to send supplies up as soon as possible. Send another team of cavalry to visit the nearby cities and ask the local National Assembly to gather things to entertain the troops. Berthier breathed a sigh of relief. Great, I'll arrange it right away. Fortunately, you are a general who is willing to listen to advice. And Ning, that's because I also noticed the fatigue of the troops. Okay, go and do your own thing. After Berthier left, and Ning continued to sit at the table, picked up the wine glass, and watched the French troops clean up the battlefield while tasting the wine. And Ning, this wine is good. Fanny, it's the wine sent by Upend, which is a famous wine-producing area. The wine produced there will be transported to Paris via the Marne River. And Ning, is that so? Is there any wine they sent? Share it with the troops. We won a great victory today, let's celebrate it. Fanny, your idea is good, but with so many troops and so little wine, I'm afraid everyone can only get a drop. And Ning, don't worry, just send the cart carrying the barrels to any troop and tell them that this is the wine rewarded by the general, and you don't have to worry about the rest. It won't be long before the whole army knows that the general has rewarded a certain troop with fine wine. That's enough. I understand, I'll take care of it. Fanny turned and left, so Ning was the only one left on the high ground, sitting at the table, tasting wine, with a young flag bearer standing next to him. His flag was flying in the wind. In Ning's mind, he began to sum up the lessons learned. Although the column charge is effective, the casualties are also very large, especially when attacked by artillery with solid bullets. The casualties are much greater than those of the horizontal column. Moreover, the column is not conducive to the use of firepower. Using a column attack is basically equivalent to giving up a musket. In the attack, only the first and second rows will fire, and the flintlocks in the hands of the soldiers in other rows are basically equivalent to a spear. Sure enough, the column attack is just a stopgap measure. The current French army does not change its formation and lacks the practice of loading muskets, so the column can maximize its strengths and avoid its weaknesses. However, when the French army's training is improved, it should still adopt a horizontal attack. Another is the volley tactics. And Ning has been observing the effect of volleys these days. At the military academy in Brienne, and Ning learned that volleys can cause a large number of casualties to the enemy in a short period of time, which can effectively hit the enemy's morale, and is better than free shooting. But now Ning always feels that something is wrong, and it seems that the effect of volleys is not so good. I don't know if it is because the morale of the French army is high. In comparison, random shooting feels more able to exert sustained firepower. The famous Russian general Suvorov was very disgusted with volley fire. He always required his troops to adopt battle shooting, which can be interpreted as free random shooting after strict training to allow soldiers to fully aim before shooting. After this series of continuous operations, Ning felt that Suvorov's views made sense. Ning planned to write all of these into the French army's training manual, including the advantages and disadvantages of column attack, the encouragement of free shooting and the elimination of volley fire, and the active use of skirmish formations, etc. In his mind, a brand new training manual began to take shape. When he returned to Paris, he planned to write this new manual and let Lazare Carnot train the troops according to the brand new manual. Frost, on the other hand, was the well-deserved father of the new army. Just thinking about it, Murat and Ning came turning together. Ning, shouldn't you continue to pursue the enemy? It's like this. In the previous melee with the Allied cavalry, my brigade lost a considerable number of war horses and many wounded, so we withdrew temporarily. Murat replied, and then glanced at Ning. Ning, my brigade ran out of rations yesterday. Today we got some rations from Murat's brigade. We are very hungry and almost want to rob the villages we pass by. I had to work hard to hold down the cavalry. And Ning, you are hungry too. Damn it. The logistics are completely inadequate. Murat, I can't believe we are fighting on French soil. And Ning, you know what the situation is now. Be content. Carnot has worked very hard to supply us. The current situation seems that the 200,000 French troops led by Ning have almost reached their limit and have to return to the capital to rest. Fortunately, most of the coalition forces have been defeated and are probably unable to launch a siege on the two fortresses of Sedan and Verdun. And Ning, merge your two cavalry brigades into one brigade. Eat a full meal today and set out tomorrow to monitor the movements of the coalition forces. I want to make sure Alvinzi withdraws from the border. Murat and Ning saluted together. I guarantee to complete the mission. And Ning pursed his lips and cast his eyes on the scattered French troops on the vast battlefield. It seems that this continuous offensive war will come to an end here. 2 days later. Paris, National Assembly. The messenger rushed directly into the National Assembly hall and announced loudly, General Frost has fought for 5 days and won victory after victory. The coalition forces have retreated to the border. The siege of Sedan and Verdun has been lifted. We have won. There was an excited whisper in the National Assembly. Robespierre cleared his throat, stood up and was about to speak when a member of parliament suddenly stood up. Now that we have won, Paris is no longer in danger of being surrounded. Can we stop the policy of terror? Robespierre frowned. No, no. Although Paris is safe, the enemy has not been completely eliminated. We will continue to implement a policy of terror until the enemy is completely wiped out. Mr. Baggins, what is your intention in making such a statement at this time? I suspect you are a hidden royalist. As soon as the voice fell, another member of parliament stood up. I have evidence that Baggins has been in secret with the Girondists. Baggins was shocked. What? Impossible. This is a frame-up. The member of parliament held up a letter. This is the letter Baggins wrote to the leader of the Girondists. You can ask a note expert to identify it. Robespierre frowned. Invite the note expert. He will give you a fair evaluation, Mr. Baggins. Baggins shouted in fear. No. This is actually the norm in the National Assembly now. Because the privilege of the inviolability of the members of parliament has been abolished, members of the National Assembly now often deliberately fabricate all kinds of black materials in order to attack their opponents. As for the authenticity of the black material, as long as a few gold coins are stuffed into the note expert, it will no longer be a problem. Of course, stuffing gold coins itself is a dangerous act. Robespierre hates this kind of behavior. Once discovered, he will inevitably go to the guillotine with the identification expert. But as long as the benefits are big enough, there will always be people who take risks. Baggins certainly understood the tricks behind this. He sat dejectedly in the chair, waiting for the note expert to announce his death sentence. At this time, a new topic was raised. Danton stood up. I think that the next step is to let the French army take advantage of the victory and attack the wealthy Rhine region as soon as possible. That's right, occupying the Rhine region can solve our tax source problem. Someone immediately agreed. It is our mission to expand the revolution to all Europe. Chapter 277 Your eagle emblem is here. And Ning received an order from the Parliament on May 17. According to the latest resolution of the Parliament, you must launch a combat operation across the border to attack the Rhine region as soon as possible. And Ning looked at the order, his brows twisted into a knot. What the hell? The special envoy who delivered the order was a young man. Seeing Ning's attitude, he repeated the order in a condescending tone. You must launch a combat operation across the border to attack the Rhine region as soon as possible. I know what the content of the order is. I'm asking why there is such a thing. And Ning interrupted the young special envoy. I thought the special envoy was here to entertain the troops. And Ning had just won a great victory, and the National Assembly in Paris had not responded yet, but the National Assembly in various places had already sent a lot of supplies to entertain the troops. He originally thought that the National Assembly would also express something, but he didn't expect that what was sent was an order urging him to continue attacking the border. And it was sent by such an ignorant special envoy. And Ning carefully looked at the special envoy. His face looked childish, his clothes didn't fit him well, and perhaps because he wasn't used to wearing such good clothes, his posture was a little stiff. He must be a newcomer who had good luck and rose to prominence after the Jacobins seized power, consolidating the troops. The young commissioner hesitated. Maybe the parliament has neglected it, but the parliament's order is also very important. If you want people to consolidating the troops, I can write to the parliament and ask them to send people, but the offensive must be launched immediately. And Ning, no, our army does not have enough supplies to support an expedition across the border. The commissioner was stunned. It was obvious that Ning's answer was beyond his expectation. After a brief silence, he asked, why not? The expedition in Italy is obviously going smoothly. That's because the South is relatively stable and can organize enough transportation capacity to transport supplies. In addition, Italy has the support of the newly established Republic of Milan. Most importantly, the Italian army has few people. The objective situation in the north makes it impossible for us to organize an expedition across the border in a short period of time. Commissioner, what about reducing the number of people going out? And Ning looked at the commissioner with his mouth wide open, as if looking at a madman. Although we won the victory, we basically did not fight a war of annihilation. The enemy should be able to recover the scattered troops soon. Using a small number of troops to cross the border is seeking death. Our army is still poorly trained. And Ning paused. Unless the elite troops guarding Paris are mobilized. Are you sure you want me to transfer the garrison troops to attack the Rhine? Paris will only be protected by newly formed troops that have not even been trained. Special Commissioner, well. Anyway, the order of the Parliament must be executed. The order of the Parliament is unreasonable. As the military commander of France, I have the right to refuse unreasonable orders. Go back to the Parliament and say that General Frost asserted that now is not a good time to attack the Rhine region. We need to train troops, reorganize logistics, and stockpile supplies. Special Commissioner, but just go back and tell me what I said exactly. Get out of here now. The young Special Commissioner got out of here quickly. Berthier, who had been silent all the time, said at this time, is this really good for the Special Commissioner of the Parliament? And Ning, what's good or bad about it? Can the Parliament still remove my commander? What if the Parliament really removes you? Berthier asked. Murat, who was standing next to him, turned around and ran away immediately after hearing this question, probably thinking that this was not something he should hear. Seeing this, Ning followed suit. But before they could escape, and Ning replied, even if I obey the Parliament's arrangement and give up command, my troops will not agree. In order to avoid greater chaos caused by the mutiny of the troops, I can only ignore the so-called orders of the Parliament. The Parliament will definitely understand my good intentions. If the Parliament does not understand, use a straightforward method to make them understand. For example, grape shot. And Ning did not realize that at this time he thought about these contents without any resistance, and related ideas naturally emerged in his mind. At least in his heart, he was ready to carry out a de facto military dictatorship, but he himself did not realize it. Berthier looked at Ning with a complicated look. Murat and Ning, who did not have time to run, were embarrassed and at a loss. And Ning did not think there was any problem and continued to talk about business. In order to ensure the security of the border, we have to strengthen the garrisons in 2 fortresses and a series of border cities. Carnot and the local National Assembly will solve the problem of supply. In addition, as for the rebels, I think we can promote Dumas the Elder, Kleber and Moreau, who have performed outstandingly in recent battles, to serve as commanders of the rebel forces. Berthier, Kleber and Moreau are fine, but Dumas the Elder is a black man. What's wrong with black people? As long as they have talent, they can command the army. This is the biggest difference between the Republic Army and the Old Kingdom Army. This can serve as an excellent propaganda example. And Ning said in an unquestionable tone, I will write to Carnot personally and promote them. Berthier reminded, the rank of general needs to be approved by Parliament. It actually needs the approval of Parliament. Damn it. And Ning cursed, okay, Then I will write a letter personally to ask Parliament to approve their appointment as generals. And Ning paused. It seems that I need to go back to Paris first. Berthier, you have achieved such a brilliant victory less than half a month after leaving Paris. Paris will surely welcome you warmly. And Ning, I believe they will. At this time a soldier entered the headquarters. General, there is an envoy from Lyon outside. And Ning raised his eyebrows. Lyon? That's far enough. Berthier, could something have happened to your father? And Ning frowned. To be honest, he has never had any feelings for his parents in this time and space. He just kept sending them money to evade the responsibilities he should bear as a son. It has been peaceful all along, because there are few literate people in his family, and it is very inconvenient to write letters. Is direct interaction with parents inevitable? And Ning didn't think about it, and said to the soldier who reported the news, let the envoy in. The soldier immediately made way and said to the outside, Mr. Envoy, please come in. A gentleman dressed in elegant clothes entered the room, followed by a young servant holding a stick-like object wrapped in oil paper. The gentleman took off his hat to Ning. General, I say hello to you on behalf of Mr. Fauché. It turned out to be the chameleon Fauché. And Ning felt relieved. I received his greetings. Is there anything else? It's like this. Mr. Fauché has prepared a small gift for you. As he said, the gentleman took the stick-like object from the servants and carefully tore off the oil paper. Then a pure gold flagpole appeared in front of the Ning, and an eagle with spread wings was carved on the top of the flagpole. Gentlemen, the style of the eagle emblem imitates the Roman eagle emblem in the picture album. Mr. Fauché thinks you will like it. And Ning finally closed her mouth. Yes, I like it very much. Damn it, I'm not Napoleon, I didn't really want an eagle emblem. This rumor is going to come true. Chapter 278 Andy the Sower. And Ning frowned and took the golden stick, the golden flagpole. And Ning, the eagle is carved very well. Mr. Fauché found the best goldsmith in Lyon. The messenger said proudly. And Ning looked at the flagpole and thought that he absolutely could not use this flagpole, because in the current European environment, even if he did not become emperor, he would almost be emperor. But it doesn't seem to matter. In real history, the Jacobins made a lot of enemies for the revolution with their killing spree, and then they killed themselves. After the Jacobins fell, the Thermidorians who came up were all ambitious and speculators. This group of people did not do anything anthropomorphic except making themselves rich. Many of the achievements of the French Revolution were actually fixed in the era when Napoleon became emperor. Taking advantage of this time, he raised the banner of the contemporary Caesar and became the first consul. Perhaps he could avoid the destruction of the Jacobins? When Ning was thinking about all this, Napoleon rushed in excitedly, and as soon as he came in, he shouted, Andy! Great, I knew you could do it. You just drove away 200,000 coalition troops. Napoleon wanted to flatter him a little more, but suddenly he saw the eagle flag in Ning's hand, and his face changed. This is the eagle flag. The Roman eagle flag. Are you finally going to directly display the eagle flag? Great. The defeated soldiers I caught on the road all said that you displayed the eagle flag. I didn't expect it to be true. No, I just got the eagle flag. Napoleon stepped forward, dancing with joy. So it's true. He personally raised the eagle flag and charged at the enemy. Even Caesar didn't do such a thing. Andy, restore the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire around the Mediterranean. And Ning looked at Napoleon, a Super Rome fan, and was a little speechless. Is it that easy to rebuild the Roman Empire? It's not like in Paradox games, where you can rebuild Rome by clicking a decision. Even in Paradox games, rebuilding Rome is a big goal that can be used as the end goal of the entire game. Generally, the game is almost closed after completing the feat of rebuilding Rome. Napoleon became more and more excited. Then we will restore the Roman military system and form a Roman legion. In order to make him shut up, and Ning stuffed the eagle flagpole in his hand into Napoleon's hand. This trick really worked. Napoleon immediately turned his attention to the flagpole. Oh, it's great, so exquisitely made. Did you order this, Andy? No, it was the work of Special Envoy Fauché. Napoleon's expression immediately restrained. Fauché? Damn, this guy is not loyal, he definitely has no good intentions. He is just like Talleyrand. We are doing well now, he will be very attentive, and when we are unlucky, he will not hesitate to add insult to injury. And Ning, I know. And Ning was of course very clear about the personalities of Fauché and Talleyrand. Come to think of it, Andy Frost originally wanted to take these two people as role models, but unfortunately he can't do it now. Napoleon continued, I heard that Talleyrand went to Britain to engage in diplomacy. I think he might collude with the British guys and sell France for a good price. And Ning, not yet, because Talleyrand has a good vision. He knows that it is more profitable to bet on France now. Napoleon smiled, that's right. After all, Andy, you are so brave and victorious. No one will bet on the loser. At this time, Napoleon glanced at Murat and Ning. Who are these two? Where's LaSalle? And Ning shrugged, he rushed too far and got injured. Now he's probably drinking and touching women's butts in Paris every day. It's what he deserves. I'm really envious. No, I mean, it's really annoying. Napoleon said firmly, at this time, even if you are injured, you have to go to the battlefield to fight. This is a time when officers are needed. And Ning smiled and introduced Murat and Ning to Napoleon. This is Noche Murat, a very outstanding cavalry officer, and this is Michel Ning, who is also a very outstanding blacksmith. After all, Murat was a cavalry officer before the Revolutionary War, so it's okay to say that he was excellent. Ning in this time and space was just a blacksmith before, so it's obviously not appropriate to say that he was an excellent officer. And Ning, although he is a blacksmith, I feel that he has the potential to become an outstanding officer. Napoleon, your feelings are always right. You are really good at judging people. I heard that Bernadotte also fought well in Verdun. And Ning, where is Bernadotte? Did he come? Verdun is much closer to the current headquarters of Ning than Sedan. Napoleon, the enemy on his side just retreated, and he is probably busy cleaning up the battlefield. The enemy on my side ran away earlier. By the way, I also brought Archduke Karl with me. And Ning, why didn't you say so earlier? Come in. Napoleon snapped his fingers, and his personal soldiers who were waiting at the door immediately went out to invite the Archduke in. As soon as the Archduke entered the door, he stared at the flagpole with the eagle emblem. Napoleon noticed it and hurriedly hid the flagpole behind him, but the flagpole was too high and he was too short, so this hiding was even more obvious. Archduke Karl, it seems that you are ready to declare yourself the Caesar of the world. And Ning, no, Caesar is the title of the Holy Roman Emperor. As long as the Holy Roman Emperor still exists, I will not call myself Caesar. Napoleon, you can call yourself Augustus. Augustus is also a title for the Roman Emperor, but for some reason Byzantium did not use it, and instead came up with Basilius. And Ning, don't be like that. I know you are teasing, but the Archduke will take it seriously. I have heard of your name for a long time, the younger brother of the Holy Roman Empire, Karl Ludwig Johann Joseph Lorenz. Archduke Karl held in Ning's outstretched hand. I don't deserve it. You are the truly famous General Frost, the savior of France. And Ning, even the Austrians call me the savior of France. What? I thought it was a title. No. And Ning waved her hand. I am just an ordinary citizen of the Republic. I received the order of the National Assembly to lead the army to fight, that's all. While Ning was being modest, an idea emerged in her mind. Wait a minute, it might be interesting to plant a seed of the Republic for Archduke Karl here? In history, Archduke Karl carried out a series of reforms in Austria after seeing everything about the Republic with his own eyes, especially after seeing the power of the new National Guard. Although the reform is mainly military, maybe if I work harder, I can push Archduke Karl to an unimagine path? Of course, I am not referring to that path here, but the bourgeois revolution. After all, it is limited by the times. So Ning was ready to speak. At this time, Archduke Karl turned his gaze from the eagle flag to Ning, his eyes flashing with curiosity. Sir Frost, can you tell me in detail your views on the advantages of the nation-state? And Ning was surprised. Oh, you asked the question yourself? Napoleon said as if he was boasting. Ever since I told him about your views on the nation-state, he has been thinking about it, and he often asks me questions and debates with me. I have tried my best, but I still can't completely answer his questions. I can only rely on you. Chapter 279, Praise from Bernadotte. That day, Ning talked with Archduke Karl for a whole day. He felt that he had opened the door to a new world for Archduke Karl, and the rest depended on his luck. If the reform could not be carried out, there was still a possibility that he would be removed by his brother Franz, but even if we take a step back, Austria removed its only capable General Karl, which was also a good thing. Maybe when the time comes, it can be publicized that Frost's 3 sentences made Austria lose its own martial arts. It was not until late at night that Archduke Karl returned to the guest room prepared for him with satisfaction. The next day, Bernadotte also rushed to the headquarters from Verdun. As soon as he entered the door, Bernadotte, like Napoleon, saw the eagle flag placed against the wall in the corner and was stunned. And Ning immediately remembered that Bernadotte was a hardcore Republican, and hurriedly said, "This is a gift from Fauché. I don't mean to become a dictator." Bernadotte was even more confused. "Ah, what dictator? Well, I didn't think that way, I confessed it myself." And Ning hurriedly tried to make amends. "Aren't you looking at the eagle flag? When you see the eagle flag, you will think of Caesar and the emperor. I am a staunch Republican and I will not be a dictator." Bernadotte, "Of course you are. You are even the founder of the Republic. Why are you saying this?" And Ning, "It's okay, it's good that you didn't think about it. I'm just afraid that you will misunderstand. Report on the situation of the Verdun fortress." Bernadotte nodded. The fortress was defended for nearly 4 months in total. The enemy's best attack hit the north wall of the fortress, but we recaptured it. However, the long-term fighting caused a certain degree of damage to the outer wall of the fortress, and the bunker entrenched has also been destroyed by the Allied forces. In order to prevent the enemy from making a comeback, the position of the bunker needs to be readjusted. In the fortresses of this era, there were some specially set up dark rooms and bunkers outside the fortress. For example, Trench Lee in the Verdun fortress hid several such things. There were cannons in the bunkers. When the enemy entered the trench and charged to the opposite bank, solid bullets could be used to sweep the enemy's ranks, causing huge casualties. These bunkers could not leave secret passages leading to the fortress. This would be equivalent to giving the enemy a free passage to bypass the fortress's strong walls and attack the interior. Therefore, the entrances to these bunkers are all outside, and once exposed, the entrances will be quickly found and attacked. The death squad stationed in the bunkers of the Verdun fortress have probably died heroically. And Ning, you will get the military engineering experts you need. In addition, give me the names of those stationed in the bunker. I want to reward their families." Bernadotte immediately took out a stack of documents. "Here. It should be all. I mean, all of my troops." And Ning took the list solemnly and said in a deep voice, "These people have made outstanding contributions to the Republic. The Republic will not forget them." Seeing this, Napoleon touched his head awkwardly. I didn't bring any staff with me. I came directly with a few guards, so. Sorry, Andy, I don't have any documents to give you." And Ning glanced at Napoleon. "I know. Napoleon was not good at handling these detailed matters. In real history, it was basically Berthier who is responsible for daily affairs and split his battle plan into several parts. But Bernadotte was different. The personalities of the two were probably the reason for their later disagreement. While Ning was thinking about these things, Bernadotte had already begun to scold Napoleon. "Shouldn't this kind of thing be carried with you? It is important to let the headquarters know how many troops you have and how many enemy attacks you can withstand." "Napoleon, I know it's important. I didn't say it's not important. I just ran to Andy excitedly when I saw the enemy retreated. This is just a small negligence. Bernadotte, when you fail because of this negligence, it will be too late." And Ning watched Bernadotte scolding Napoleon and wondered if the two of them would still be enemies if they were in a different time and space. Napoleon snorted, "I just won a battle and captured the brother of the Holy Roman Emperor, and you just made sure to defend the fortress. What qualifications do you have to teach me a lesson?" "Bernadotte, it has nothing to do with whether you won the battle or not. I'm reminding you to do every detail well." And Ning, "Okay." The two people who were fighting like cocks stopped and looked at Ning together. A general does not need to be too fussy about trivial matters. Let a qualified chief of staff worry about such matters. I cannot take into account every detail. It all depends on Berthier. Berthier was a little surprised when he suddenly heard his name. "Ah, me. And Ning, I'm praising your work." "Well, I should." Berthier looked very moved, because not long ago Ning was still scolding him for his mistakes that almost led to the defeat of the French army in Bobby Village, but now he is praising his work without reservation. Anyone would be moved. Bernadotte observed Berthier's expression, and then asked tentatively, "I heard that you punished Colonel Berthier for his mistake." And Ning, "He was punished to wear a maid outfit for a day. In the future, if someone in my army makes a mistake that is not punishable by punishment, he will have to wear a maid outfit." Bernadotte frowned. "Is it the same for us? You'd better hope that when you make a mistake, you will be waiting for a maid outfit instead of a guillotine." And Ning shrugged. But when you do well, I will not be stingy with my praise, just like just now. Doing well is doing well, and making mistakes does not prevent you from doing well. Bernadette said, "Oh, and praised, I heard that you have a good way of managing the army before, and now it seems to be true." And Ning smiled and accepted this flattery. Bernadette is not yet his direct line, and his praise can be regarded as a third-party praise, which is even more precious. After that, everyone chatted for a while, and then the envoys from the coalition arrived. The envoys held a white flag and were led into the headquarters. "I'm Frost. What do the Duke of Brunswick and Marshal Alvinci of the coalition have to say?" And Ning asked the uneasy envoy. The envoy kept glancing at the eagle flag in the corner. And Ning thought, "It's over, now there's evidence that I charged with the eagle flag. I dare not even think about how exaggerated the rumors will become." And Ning coughed, and finally woke up the envoy who was focusing on the eagle flag. "Well, it's like this. Marshal Alvinci and the Duke of Brunswick asked me to bring you a letter, mainly about the exchange of prisoners of war. And Ning, I don't think our army has many prisoners that need to be exchanged. Isn't it a bit inappropriate to use the word exchange?" The envoy was silent for a few seconds, and changed his words, then, "Redemption. When will the redemption of prisoners of war be arranged? Of course, our army is the redeeming party." And Ning turned his head and looked at Berthier. "Why don't you arrange it? Berthier, for this kind of thing, don't we really need to contact the National Assembly for a decision?" "Well." And Ning raised his eyebrows and glanced at Bernadette. "Okay, ask the National Assembly for its opinion. After all, I'm not a dictator." Chapter 280. When the master of Malmaison sets his eyes on the incorruptible. Although Prosperous was already outside Paris, he still paid attention to the situation in Paris and asked people to collect Paris newspapers and send them to him every day. He also maintained correspondence with many people who stayed in Paris, and learned about the movements of Robespierre and others through letters. One day, he read the newspaper and saw a message. Frost reported the situation of prisoners of war to the National Assembly and asked whether to exchange prisoners of war and how to exchange them. While drinking coffee, Paris muttered, "Why apply? He can obviously decide everything by himself. What can the parliament do to him?" Barras' friend Louis Laravelli commented on the side, "Maybe he is really loyal to the parliament, like a saint, without his own selfish desires." Barras shook his head. "No, from my impression of Frost, he is not like a saint. He is just a mortal like you and me. Mortals will have ambitions and will enrich themselves. No, it won't be like that. He may think that this issue is insignificant and it doesn't matter if it is left to the parliament to decide." Barras paused, as if thinking about something, and then laughed. "But his submissive behavior may make some gentlemen in the parliament feel good about themselves. I guess it won't be long before they will do things to interfere with Frost. By then, the angry Frost may even replace the parliament." Louis Laravelli smiled and said, "And that's when we return to Paris." "That's right." Speculators like Barras started to profit after they found it very dangerous to stay in Paris. The first to run away was Fouché, and then Talleyrand. Now there are only dullards and real revolutionaries who really want to do something in Paris. However, the killing did not stop. While Barras was reading the newspaper of the next day, Ning returned to Paris again. On the one hand, he wanted to see how the parliament would discuss the redemption of prisoners, and on the other hand, in theory he needed to report the results of the military operations to the parliament. After all, the nominal leader of the French Republic is the National Assembly, not Brigadier General Frost. In addition, Ning needs to promote his subordinates, and the procedure requires the approval of the National Assembly. Ning arrived at the Palace of Versailles that night, and his fiancée Christina prepared a sumptuous meal for him. While eating, Christina suddenly said, "Andy, do you think we should move out of the Palace of Versailles?" Ning frowned slightly. "What's wrong? Are you uncomfortable living in Versailles?" "Of course it's comfortable, but recently more and more people think that our living in Versailles means that we have ideas about the throne." "Ning, it's just because so many houses in this place are suitable for barracks. Where in Paris can there be houses that can accommodate so many troops at once?" "Christina, there are already 200,000 National Guards living in Paris. Lazare Carnot has arranged them in an orderly manner. Didn't you just lead these 200,000 to fight in a war? So now when you tell people that it is for garrisoning, not many people will believe it." And Ning curled her lips. "Then let's move to your father's Palais Royal? Your father's house is still being taken care of by servants, right?" Christina smiled. "I knew you would agree if I told you." "Of course, You are my fiancé, but of course I will meet this request. Christina smiled. If we move to the Palais Royal, it will be closer to Robespierre. And Ning? No, doesn't he live on Gaznier Street? Why did he move near the Palais Royal? He just moved because the environment around his old residence was too complicated. The house that Robespierre has been living in is old and dilapidated. He has lived there since he came to Paris to study and has never moved. And Ning personally asked Robespierre why he has always had a special liking for this house. Robespierre replied at the time that he liked the landlord's cooking. In this era, it is assumed that landlords will cook for tenants. And Ning, Robespierre has also changed the house he lives in. He also changed into a new coat. Christina continued, we all think that he may have taken a fancy to this girl. The ladies in Paris are discussing it. And Ning raised her eyebrows, so even though the city of Paris is like this, the ladies still continue to hold tea parties. Recently, the utilization rate of the guillotine in Paris has begun to decline, and the guillotines in some squares have been demolished. Now only the guillotine in the Place de la Revolution is still there. And Ning was overjoyed. Really? Could it be that the Jacobins in this time and space are actually going to be restrained? Christina, you look very happy. Of course. If Paris continues to be in such chaos, it will also affect our organization of logistics. We may have to go abroad next, which requires a stable rear. Christina, we still have to continue the war. I really want to fight with you on the battlefield. And Ning, your current position is also very important. Keep telling me about the situation in Paris and the news you heard at the ladies' tea party. Didn't you just mention Robespierre's love? I'm interested in that. After all, if Robespierre was really in love, he might not have become a terrifying devil. In another time and space, Robespierre was a staunch revolutionary until the end. He was just possessed. And Ning really wanted to give Robespierre a good ending. Christina, it's just that the ladies at the tea party said so, and they also encouraged Josephine to seduce Robespierre. And Ning frowned slightly. Isn't Josephine Paul Barras's lover? Mr. Barras has now left Paris as a special envoy. Since Mr. Fouché went to Lyon as a special envoy, they have all received appointments from the parliament. Christina paused, so Josephine felt a little lonely, and then she set her sights on Robespierre. And Ning thought to herself, you are worthy of me. In real history, after Emperor Napoleon went to Italy to fight, Josephine immediately found a lover. Not only that, she also took this lover to Italy to see Napoleon. When Ning read the biography of Napoleon to this point, she thought that Napoleon did not shoot this woman in the head. It must be true love. So Josephine plans to pursue Robespierre. And Ning asked with a mentality of watching a show. Christina, she invited Robespierre to a tea party, but never received a response. Now she says at the tea party every day that Robespierre changed into a new coat because he fell in love with a certain girl. And Ning was a little disappointed. It turned out to be a rumor. I thought Robespierre was really in love. Actually, I feel a bit like that myself. Christina leaned forward slightly. I went to watch the parliament meeting specifically, and chose a position on the stand suitable for observing Robespierre. Because I am your fiancé, everyone made room for me. And Ning, well, then. Robespierre is dressed very carefully now, and you can't tell the style of the past at all. His wig is new, all his clothes are carefully matched, and his bow tie is tied meticulously. And Ning frowned slightly. I don't remember seeing Robespierre dressed up carefully. He always gave me the impression that his appearance was just okay, so he wore a green coat for so many years. No, you help me prepare, I have to go see my old friend tonight. Christina, okay, I will prepare clothes for you to go out at night. Will you bring guards? Of course, I will bring guards. Although there is no need. Chapter 281 Late Night Drinks with Best Friends. After a while, Ning found Robespierre's current residence according to the address given by Christina. It was a two-story building, and the conditions were much better than the house where Robespierre lived before. He knocked on the door, and a young girl opened the door. The girl was wearing a linen dress and a white maid's hat. French maids would wear such a hat. Fanny didn't wear it because of Ning's own habit. He asked Fanny to change it to a lace headscarf like the Japanese maids now. And Ning, I want to see Citizen Robespierre. Maid, he's not here. How could he not be here? I know Robespierre too well. He should be reading in the study at this time. At this time, the maid suddenly gasped, this voice. You are General Frost. And Ning, yes, it's me. Notify Robespierre and tell him that I'm here. No need to notify. Robespierre's voice came from behind the maid. and Ning pushed the door open and saw Robespierre standing on the stairs leading to the second floor, holding a candlestick. "Mrs. Claire, please prepare wine and snacks, and maybe some snacks, right?" Robespierre said as he stepped forward and put his arm around Ning's shoulders. "Why did you come back from the front? There's no news." And Ning smelled a faint scent of soap. Robespierre should have just finished taking a shower. "I just arrived in Versailles. Christina told me you might be in love, so I hurried to see you." And Ning glanced at Mrs. Claire, who was preparing wine and snacks. "Is this your new landlord? Or, is this my new landlord? Danton introduced this house to me. She is a good cook. Her baked pies are delicious, and her fish soup is also excellent." And Ning, Danton introduced her. "How is Danton?" "He's doing very well. Now he has taken over Marat's job and publishes articles in the Friends of the People every day. As if fighting those traitors in Parliament is not enough. It seems that Danton and Robespierre have a good relationship now?" And Ning glanced at Mrs. Claire's back again and asked, "So the rumor Christina said is just a rumor, or what are you thinking about? How can you spare the energy to talk about love at this time? Although you are brave enough to temporarily repel the coalition forces, we can't sit back and relax," Robespierre said as he pulled Ning up to the second floor and into his study. And Ning sat down on the chair in front of the desk and asked, "Is the situation in Paris still bad?" "Yes, first of all, it's a financial problem. Although it can be barely supported by confiscating the property of traitors, Lazare Carnot has organized so many troops, and the military pay is really not enough. There are also the uniforms, weapons, and flags needed to equip these troops. Now it's all thanks to Lazare Carnot's talent that we can barely hold on, but the finances are still full of holes. If it weren't for the more stable tax source in the south, we would be finished." Robespierre sighed. "In addition, we have to thank the people of Paris and the women of Paris. They have been working for the National Assembly on a voluntary basis, producing cloth and clothes. Mrs. Claire now goes out to work during the day. It's really like you said, women hold up half the sky." In this time and space, this sentence was said by Ning, and it will be passed down as General Andy Frost's famous saying in the future. And Ning, "Of course, the women are great." Robespierre continued, "However, some people have sharply criticized the practice of allowing women to participate in the revolution. Some people even threw feces water on the streets of women who were actively working for the National Assembly. Just the day before yesterday, we even found the bodies of ladies who were murdered at night on the streets. And Ning, it's too abominable. We must strike hard." "You think so too?" Robespierre excitedly handed the document he was drafting on the table to Ning. "Look, this is what I am drafting. Tomorrow, in addition to voting on how to deal with the prisoners of war you captured, the most important thing is to vote for this." And Ning read the document carefully, regarding the establishment of a public security committee. Robespierre explained excitedly, "That's right, establish a public security committee. Unified handling of criminals and traitors who endanger public safety. We will have no mercy on these people. Once convicted, they will be sent to the guillotine. They will not be imprisoned, nor will they be given a chance to repent. Use a thorough iron fist to make these people know where to hide." And Ning put down the documents, thinking that it had indeed begun. So he asked Robespierre, "How do you avoid wrongful convictions in this way?" Robespierre, "That's why we need to establish a complete trial system to reduce wrongful convictions as much as possible. It is obviously impossible to avoid it completely. We can only reduce it, but we can't choose not to fight for a fear of killing the wrong person. In order to maintain the freedom and peace of the majority, the interests and lives of some individuals can be sacrificed. This choice is difficult, but we must make this choice." And Ning grabbed Robespierre's hands. "Maximilien, if I hadn't known you for a long time and knew you well, I would have thought you were a complete tyrant." Yes, the biggest difference between Robespierre and a tyrant is that he is not doing it for his own selfish interests. He really thinks this is good for France and the revolution. Robespierre gave a relieved smile. "Thank you for believing me, I knew you would believe me. But," and Ning threw out a transition word, "this public security committee will definitely become a tool for others to enrich themselves and fight for power. If you say so, all tools may be used for evil, so should we just give up the tools? No, we can't. Since the tools may be used for evil, let's take the tools into our own hands." Robespierre broke free from Ning's hand, gesticulating and saying, "As long as all the enemies are eliminated, the tools will not be abused. Just eliminate them all." and Ning really felt that this Robespierre had become paranoid, and it was time to put the brakes on him. So he said, "What if I or Danton become your enemy one day?" Robespierre, "No, how could you become your enemy? Danton won't either. I know both of you." And Ning, "But I don't agree with your approach. Isn't that your enemy?" Robespierre laughed, "Don't be ridiculous. I didn't say that different opinions are enemies. I already know that you don't agree with the establishment of the Public Security Committee. Just like before, you can reserve your opinions if you have differences. You will also attend the National Assembly tomorrow, right? If you disagree, you can raise counter-arguments at the meeting. Let's have a debate like before. Let's have a good tit for tat." In the past, Ning and his group would debate from time to time in the Jacobin Club. Sometimes they would quarrel until their faces turned red and they would greet each other's families, but they would continue to drink after the quarrel. It seems that Robespierre has not forgotten the scene at that time. This made Ning feel a little relieved. "Okay, let's have a good debate tomorrow." And Ning laughed, "Don't say that I am using General Frost's prestige to induce everyone. It's not fair to win." Robespierre laughed, "Ha ha ha. Don't worry, this is a challenge." At this time, Mrs. Claire came with wine and snacks. "Robespierre, come, drink. Let's get drunk tonight." Chapter 282, The flow direction has changed? The next day, the motion to establish the Public Security Committee failed to pass by a narrow margin of 6 votes. And Ning was shocked. Because he had tried to change the course of history before, and then history would return to its original track with a huge and stubborn inertia. And Ning felt like Don Quixote challenging the windmill giant. He fully expected that today's motion would be passed directly despite his opposition, and then history would rush towards the original ending of the Jacobins slaughtering each other. However, he won. Although he only won by a slight advantage. The establishment of the Public Security Committee was prevented. Is history really going to change? He looked at Robespierre in surprise, and saw the incorruptible tear up his speech in frustration. Then their eyes met. And Ning looked at Robespierre with an expression of winning a bet between friends. The latter shrugged and said, "After you left yesterday, I stayed up all night to polish the speech until this morning despite being drunk. I am convinced that I couldn't beat you." And Ning, "Okay, the loser has to buy me a drink." And Ning was very happy at this time. After all, history has been revised, right? Danton also came over at this time. What the hell? I was shocked when I saw Frost oppose the Public Security Committee bill. And Ning, the establishment of such an authoritarian institution is prone to unpredictable consequences. Especially when they have the power to send people to the guillotine. If it is changed to have the right to send people to prison, but the guillotine requires higher level deliberation, I can accept it. And Ning actually just said this here. His real purpose is to reverse the original course of history. According to the original history, the killing will intensify after the establishment of the Public Safety Committee, and the Jacobins will eventually fall in the fratricide. The ideals of the Jacobins will also be completely destroyed by the Thermidorians, who are composed of various speculators and new rich people. As for not giving the Public Safety Committee the power to kill, this idea actually comes from Thomas Sankara. The People's Tribunal established by this African Guevara at that time did not have the power of death penalty. Robespierre, if the Public Safety Committee does not have the power to execute people, what is the point of establishing it? You have not been in Paris for a long time, and you don't know what it was like when those traitors were imprisoned before. When the coalition forces defeated the French army, they were all celebrating. The royalists outside could enter the prison without hindrance and revel with the royalists in the prison. No, Frost, you don't understand. Prisons are useless. Killing one by one can effectively maintain the republic. Danton, in fact, many people have been killed now. There are a total of 15 courts in Paris. I personally think that it may be a good thing to have a public safety committee to manage these courts. Frost, you are fighting outside and don't understand the situation. Maximilien, I think we should take Frost to see how these courts operate. And Ning raised his eyebrows. Sure, now that the military threat is gone, I can stay in Paris for a while longer. At this time, because the recess time was approaching, members of parliament returned to the meeting place one after another. Robespierre, let's go and see after we discuss how to deal with prisoners of war. We can adjourn early today. Danton, it's a deal. Then he turned and returned to his seat. And Ning also returned to his special seat. The parliament reconvened under the chairmanship of Robespierre and began to discuss how to deal with prisoners of war. In the end, The Parliament passed a resolution with a high vote to continue to detain Archduke Karl in the Sedan fortress and seek to exchange Archduke Karl for Louis V and his women. And Ning didn't really care. He knew that the Austrians would not hand over 2 people for Archduke Karl alone. To bring Louis V home, it would probably still take a troop deployment outside Vienna. After the resolution was passed, and Ning asked the Parliament's errand boy to send a message to Lazare Carnot, asking Carnot to prepare a full set of Rousseau, Voltaire and Montesquieu for Archduke Karl. Let the Archduke study hard under house arrest, and there will be a lot of room for him to do when he returns. There's a lot to do. After deliberating on this motion, Robespierre was ready to announce the adjournment of the meeting. Suddenly someone stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have a proposal. Ladies and gentlemen, please look at General Frost. Don't you think there's anything inappropriate?" And Ning raised his eyebrows and looked down at his attire, a normal major general's uniform with a medal he won in the 7 Years' War hanging on the right chest. Inappropriate? Of course not. My future wife personally adjusted it this morning. It is absolutely decent and reasonable. After attracting enough attention, the congressman said slowly, "Don't you think it is unreasonable that General Frost is only a major general after such a great victory?" And Ning opened his mouth into an O shape. Is this such a straightforward flattery? In comparison, Fouché's approach of giving a golden eagle flag is much more advanced. "Congressman, I think we should upgrade the rank of His Excellency the General. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a joke for foreigners to say that our most powerful military strategist in France is actually a major general?" And Ning thought about it and realized that he should be promoted. He was only a major general, and none of his subordinates were promoted, so he could only be a brigadier general at most. Other things were fine, but Davout and Messina fought very well in Italy, and it was not appropriate to let them continue to be brigadier generals when they came back. He had to say goodbye to the rank of major general, and he was a little reluctant to do so. The congressman continued, "I think that as the de facto supreme commander of the French army, we should do it in one step and award the general the rank of Grand Marshal of the Armed Forces of the French Republic." And Ning was shocked. What the hell, did I travel back to 1912? There was an uproar in the Parliament. Robespierre glanced at Ning, and after noticing that Ning looked helpless, he shrugged and said, "You don't know Frost. He is a nobleman and doesn't care about such false reputation. But considering that Frost's subordinates will be promoted according to their merits in the future, it is indeed necessary to promote his rank to ensure the smoothness of the command chain. After all, there have been cases in the past where the Parliament forcibly revised military ranks, causing confusion in the chain of command. I think it is more appropriate to promote Frost to the rank of lieutenant general. As for the reward for his brilliant victory, I think we can establish a medal belonging to the Republic." And Ning nodded silently after hearing this. Being promoted to lieutenant general and then getting a medal is indeed not bad. He only has 1 medal so far, which is indeed a bit too little. And Ning is not a medal control, but now that he is so famous, the number of medals must match his fame, right? It doesn't need to be too many. Half of Brezhnev's medals will be good. While Ning was distracted, the resolution to promote him was passed unanimously. Yes, it was passed unanimously, without even abstentions. Then Robespierre announced the adjournment of the meeting for the day. Next, Robespierre and Danton prepared to take Ning to see the current People's Court in Paris. Chapter 283 Majority Justice. In a café near the Parliament, Robespierre, Danton and Ning were changing clothes. Robespierre was changing clothes while muttering, "Are you sure we need to change clothes too?" "Of course, but I only changed clothes after both of you did, mainly you two. Maximilien, although you don't wear your green coat now, it's actually the same as before, because you wear the same clothes to the Parliament every day." Danton pointed at Robespierre and said to Ning, "You have to tell me about him. He can wear any clothes with the allowance he gets in the Parliament, but he still wears the same clothes every day." Robespierre, "I don't wear the same clothes. I bought a lot of the same clothes and change them every day. If you don't believe me, ask my landlord Claire." And Ning, "Shall we ask that beautiful lady?" Danton, "I tell you, Robespierre's vision in choosing landlords is really good." Danton laughed. Robespierre showed a trace of displeasure, "I don't have any idea in that direction." "We all know you don't." And Ning said, "But Maximilien, friends will joke about this kind of thing. If you really can't stand it, just raise it in a formal way, and we will naturally not mention it again. Do you want to object?" Robespierre hesitated for a moment, and finally shook his head. "No, forget it. If you want to open it, Then open it. Anyway, Paris doesn't need someone of you to talk about this now. So you know it. And Ning teased. Danton, almost everyone who has a wife or fiancé knows that wives are very well informed about social events. Maximilien, you should also strive for this intelligence channel. Robespierre, okay, the changing of clothes is done, let's go and take Andy to see the Paris court. And Ning looked at herself in the mirror. She was wearing the common clothing of a trouser man, a liberty cap with a crooked tricolor emblem on the cap. Danton commented, not bad, just like a real trouser man. And Ning, have you forgotten that I am actually a shoemaker? Robespierre, if you hadn't told me, I would have forgotten. A shoemaker has become the most learned person among us. This is the miracle of the Republic. No, it's actually a miracle of time travel. Danton also complained, he grew up in the kingdom era, okay. Sooner or later, those people will use Andy to prove that the kingdom era is better than the Republic. Robespierre, I won't let that happen, because I will kill all my enemies. Okay, your public security committee is bankrupt. The three of them left the cafe while teasing each other. Before leaving the cafe, Ning was worried that her military uniform would be stolen and used for bad things, but unexpectedly, Fanny suddenly appeared. Leave it to me, there won't be any problem. Ning looked at Fanny hesitantly. Where the hell did you appear from? Did you refresh? I have been following you, but you didn't notice me. Are you an assassin? Stretch out your hands so I can see that you didn't cut your ring finger. Danton, Miss Fanny. Long time no see. By the way, Andy, who do you think is prettier, your Fanny or Maximilien's new landlord? Ning thought about it seriously. Although Fanny is very cute, Maximilien's landlord has breasts. Ning, Maximilien's landlord is good looking. Danton whistled, and Robespierre urged impatiently, okay, let's go and see the court. In order to let Andy understand the actual situation as much as possible, let's go to the court in the San Antonio district. In this way, the three Jacobins, after disguising themselves, approached the court in the San Antonio district. Ning was originally worried about whether the three could get in without identification, but the two lawyers laughed at him for worrying too much. Later, Ning found out that he was indeed worrying too much. This court did not have any identity check at all, and anyone could get in. The three giants squeezed into the court among a group of people, and then Ning found that there were already hundreds of spectators in the court, and there were also a large number of spectators outside the court, and many people were leaning on the windows to watch. The sun had not yet set, but the court had to light candles because there were too many people leaning on the windows. There was a small open space in the center of the court, and next to the open space, several people wearing wigs were crowded together and sitting behind a small table. They were probably the judge and the clerk. A proprietress who looked like a tavern was making an impassioned speech in the small open space. This man is the nephew of the Marquis of Evermond. The Marquis himself took pleasure in slaughtering his own serfs when he ruled his territory. They once captured a pair of siblings and brought them to their castle, then tortured them to death. After the revolution, the Marquis was liquidated by the locals, and his stomach was cut open and hung on the gate of his own castle. Such a sinful family, everyone in the family must pay for their sins with death, the woman said, and the crowd onlookers shouted angrily, death penalty. Death penalty. After the shouting died down, the woman continued, now we are already very merciful. In fact, we should do as the locals did to the Marquis and cut him open too. Because that's how the Marquis treats his subjects. The crowd shouted again, death penalty. The judge knocked on the table many times before everyone quieted down, and then asked the defendant, do you have anything to say? According to the laws of the Republic, you can defend yourself. The defendant, I am indeed the nephew of the Marquis, but I hated the behavior a long time ago, and I have broken with my family. Suddenly someone shouted, he has admitted that he is the nephew of the Marquis. Death penalty. The overwhelming sound of death penalty overwhelmed everything. No one could hear the defendant's defense, and no one cared. Then the judge directly banged the gavel, death penalty. The crowd cheered. Ning was shocked. Robespierre, now you understand why I want to establish the Public Security Committee? There is a proper and serious organization to judge, at least the rate of false and wrongful convictions will be much lower than the current one. Ning, why didn't you just tell me this? How could I say that, saying we killed a lot of people by mistake so let's stop? No, it's impossible, that would make the Republic bear the original sin. But I think that the nephew of the Marquis may not be innocent. Even if he is innocent now, he may become an enemy of the Republic in the future. Robespierre said and looked at the defendant again. The defendant had been taken away, and when he passed through the crowd, many people spit in his face, and some even took advantage of the chaos to reach out and hit his head. Robespierre, do you want to continue watching? Maybe everyone will shout innocence. According to my observation, the situation is probably 50-50, and Ning, no, I've seen it once and that's enough. Let's go to the Jacobin Club for a drink. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284, Malmaison's Trendsetter. After General Frost returned to Paris, Paul Barras spent money to hire extra staff to ensure that the latest developments in Paris would be delivered to his city late at night every day. This was not cheap. In order to accomplish this, he directly bought 10 of the best horses and hired 3 riders to work in shifts. Horses are the most scarce resource in the Republic now. But Barras didn't care. During the Great Revolution, he gained not only political influence, but also a lot of wealth. He still waited until late at night that day until the latest intelligence from Paris was delivered to him. Looking at the letter written by his accomplices in Paris, Paul Barras was delighted and even stood up after reading the end. Great, this is great. Josephine Beauharnais pushed the door open and asked in confusion, "What's wrong, dear?" This Parisian socialite changed into a nightgown and gently hugged Paul Barras from behind while speaking. "Barras, look at this. Today in the Parliament, Robespierre proposed a bill to establish a public security committee to regularize court trials and deal with the enemies of the Republic efficiently." Then Frost, who was present, actually raised objections. Because of Frost's opposition, the Incorruptibles bill was rejected. Isn't this great? The Incorruptible used to be the most popular in the Parliament. He could pass any bill he wanted. He could make things happen with a wave of his hand. But now he has hit a wall. This shows that Frost does not agree with his approach, and there is a rift between the 3 Jacobins. This means that our chance has come. Barras was so excited that he broke free from Josephine's arms and began to pace back and forth in the room. Madame Beauharnais could only sit down on the sofa board and watch him turn around. "Barras, we can't go back to Paris now. We have to wait until they break up completely. It is certain that Frost does not approve of the policy of terror, and Danton has also shown a wavering attitude. As long as we find a way to push more innocent people to the guillotine and arouse more resentment, they will inevitably break with Robespierre." Josephine spoke. "How can we send more innocent people to the guillotine?" "Of course, through letters of denunciation. Those old nobles who sympathize with the Republic and have a good personal relationship with Danton are the best bait. Send them to the guillotine one by one through letters of denunciation." Barras waved his arms like a conductor guiding the performance of the orchestra. "Josephine, isn't it more efficient to send people who are close to Frost to the guillotine?" No, you don't understand, Josephine. Now in Paris, as long as the correspondence with Frost is shown, the people's jury will shout not guilty. Fortunately, Frost has no habit of writing letters. Because he came from an era when almost no one knew stamps. Of course Barras didn't know this. "Barras, even I don't have a golden ticket like Frost's handwritten letter, so I have to run out of Paris with the identity of a special envoy. In short, we have to find a way to widen the rift between the Jacobins and let the most powerful people in Paris fight each other. Josephine, it seems that I should also contribute to your plan. Barras, when you were in Paris, did you often invite Miss Christine to the salon?" "Yes, but she always kept a distance from us, and once she found out that there were male guests in the salon, she would leave. But I have a good relationship with Mrs. Danton. I complain to her every day that Paris is too bloody." "Barras, very good, this is a good start. When more and more people begin to get tired of killing, the persistent Incorruptible will inevitably have conflicts with Danton, and we must intensify this conflict." Josephine looked thoughtful. "Will Frost stay in Paris for a while?" "It seems so. After all, the coalition forces in France have been eliminated now. Frost probably won't need to go out in person to suppress the rebellion. He should stay in Paris for a long time. Then maybe I can hold some balls and invite the Frosts, the future couple, to attend." Josephine suddenly showed an expression of staring at her prey. "I'm also very interested in this French hero. Barras, you can try it." Josephine stood up. I see you don't have the heart to have fun tonight, so I'll go to bed first. Tomorrow I will return to Paris and hold the ball in my Malmaison castle. Barris suddenly grabbed Josephine. Oh no, forgive me, I was too excited and didn't notice your thoughts. We will have a wonderful night tonight, and we'll talk about politics tomorrow. Josephine smiled with success. After the Public Security Committee was rejected, and Ning walked through the streets of Paris in disguise to investigate the current situation in Paris. The current situation was shocking. Many people who were originally petty bourgeoisie rose to prominence in the chaos by reporting and exposing others. There were cases of people using the court to kill people and seize their property. People who used to be lawyers, clerks, and clerks have now become the new rich in Paris. Most of the trousers guys have not received any higher education and lack the means to make profits by using this mechanism. But there are also a few trousers guys who rely on their outstanding eloquence and social skills to eat the meal of burying the old era. After all, the jury at this time can actually fool them into shouting death penalty as long as they have outstanding eloquence. Of course, more than half of the people executed were not innocent. It should be said that the high efficiency of the guillotine objectively did have the effect of deterring the enemies of the Republic. After completing the investigation, Ning found Robespierre again. It was Mrs. Claire who opened the door for him. When Ning walked in, his eyes couldn't help but slide to the chest of the landlady, but unfortunately her long skirt was wrapped very tightly, so it couldn't be seen at all. In fact, this is the normal dress for working women. Christina's dress that proudly shows off her big chest has always been exclusive to the upper class. And Ning felt inexplicably sad. He had to realize that he had actually left the ranks of trouser men. There was a sad and thick barrier between himself and the real trouser men. Thinking of this, Ning followed Mrs. Claire into Robespierre's study. Robespierre was still writing furiously. When he looked up and saw Ning visiting, he was a little surprised. "Andy, what's wrong? I've been in Paris incognito for a week." And Ning sat down directly in front of Robespierre. "We must stop sentencing prisoners in a way that is almost like lynching. Robespierre, it's easier said than done. To do this, we must first have a new constitution. A constitution alone is not enough. We must have a code that can be detailed to every case, which specifies in detail what kind of punishment to use for crimes of different degrees. As a lawyer, I am very familiar with the codes of the kingdom era, but they are no longer suitable for the new era. The compilation of the new code is still in the preparation stage." Robespierre stopped and looked at Ning seriously. "In this extraordinary period, we need a public security committee. At least take back the trial power from the so-called jury." And Ning pursed his lips. He originally only saw the possible autocracy that the Public Security Committee might lead to, but did not see its role in standardizing trials. "After all, I am just an ordinary person. It would be fine if this point was mentioned in the books related to the legal reform that I have read before, but unfortunately it was not. I still didn't read it comprehensively enough." While Ning was deeply criticizing himself, he said to Robespierre, "Then we can draft a new proposal, emphasizing the standardization of trials." The name of the new committee. Robespierre interrupted, "Let's call it the National Salvation Committee. I am writing this proposal. I wanted to persuade you tomorrow, but I didn't expect you to come by yourself. By the way, I have also thought about the possibility of abuse of power that you mentioned. I decided to serve as the chairman of the National Salvation Committee myself." And Ning thought to himself, wow, in the original history, the National Salvation Committee was actually the leading organization of the Jacobins, with 6 departments under it, respectively in charge of military, navy, taxation, diplomacy, internal affairs, and justice. In fact, it was the Jacobin government. The Public Security Committee is a bit like the NKVD. In this time and space, the National Salvation Committee has replaced it. And Ning suppressed his inner complaints and stared at Robespierre. "Maximilien, promise me that you will use the power in your hands carefully and restrainedly, and don't be controlled by power." "Robespierre, don't worry, I will always be the incorruptible person you know." Chapter 285, A Toast to the Best Times. The National Salvation Committee was established. Although it was called the name of the Jacobin government of the original time and space, it was actually the Public Security Committee. After the establishment of the National Salvation Committee, the effect was immediate. The number of people sent to the guillotine every day dropped from more than 200 to just over 50. The guillotine originally erected on the Revolution Square would be opened from the gate every day until sunset, and the idle people in Paris could watch the beheadings all day long on the Revolution Square. Ning was very satisfied with this result. Of course, he was still worried that history would become what it was in the end, so he specifically told Lazare Carnot to pay attention to the situation in the city. He even wanted to establish his own intelligence agency, but unfortunately, because of his external plug-in, his limbs were intact. Even if he established an intelligence agency, he could not use a saw to pull his thigh every day to test the courage of the intelligence officers. Danton was also very happy. After the establishment of the National Salvation Committee, the number of guillotines used every day decreased visibly, which greatly encouraged Danton, the original radical. Yes, it was so wonderful. Danton and Marat were original extremists, and were ridiculed by the Girondists as the radicals, and they were also called the lunatics. Their demand was to send all bad people or suspected bad people to the guillotine. Robespierre was a moderate. But after the Jacobins came to power, Danton became a moderate, and Robespierre became the terrorist devil in the mouths of some people. This is the wonder of history. Ning isn't such a wonder at the moment. However, at least for now, Robespierre still maintains his sanity, and Danton did not curse Robespierre. It seems that everything is moving in a good direction. Ning has a sense of satisfaction that he has changed the direction of history. He even began to imagine that the Jacobins' rule would continue, and then the French Republic would arm wrestle with the United Kingdom after the Steam Revolution. On June 15, the National Assembly formally passed a resolution to promote Ning and his generals. Except for Davout and Messina, who were far away in Italy and adopted the correspondence method, the other people's title ceremony was held in the Palace of Versailles, which was used as a barracks. On this day, the fierce generals under Ning gathered together. The hall where the three-level parliament was originally held on this day was full of soldiers. Lasalle, damn it, how come you are all brigadier generals and I am only a colonel? Napoleon, I captured the brother of the emperor in Vienna. I am only one rank higher than you. You should be content with being a brigadier general. Davout has made so many contributions, isn't he only a major general now? Lasalle, damn it, I shouldn't have been injured, otherwise I would have made some big move. At this time, Bernadotte came over with a tray with 3 glasses of wine. Gentlemen, would you like some wine? Napoleon, hey, how did you become a trainee? You are also a brigadier general. We are in an equal republic. A cobbler can be a general and a general can be a trainee. This is equality. Napoleon laughed and picked up the wine glass from the tray in Bernadotte's hand. Lasalle also took a glass and shouted, "Cheers to a cobbler." Bernadotte also took a glass himself, and then handed the empty plate to the real waiter. Then he raised his glass, "Cheers to the Republic." Napoleon, "Cheers to Caesar." Then the 3 of them drank it all. Lasalle, you look particularly happy. What? Me? Bernadotte was a little surprised. Indeed, it may be because I finally met someone I can follow. I came early and talked to Mr. Frost for a while. His loyalty to the Republic is unquestionable. Napoleon, he is Caesar. After all, Caesar was the consul of the Republic until the end. At this time, Lasalle suddenly saw something new and said to the other 2, "Hey, look, there's a black man." The other 2 looked in the direction that Lasalle pointed, and sure enough, they saw an authentic black man chatting with the other 2. Napoleon, I heard that the 3 of them used 3 brigades to block an enemy army in Bobby Village. Damn it, I alone can use 3 brigades to block an army. The 3 of them fought together, and in the end, they were promoted to brigadier general together, while I was only a brigadier general. Lasalle looked at Napoleon, are you saying this again to me, a colonel? I fought with Andy the whole time. Napoleon, bullshit, I was commanding your excellency's mobile artillery during the Battle of Beach. On the hillside, Davout and I faced Lafayette's 40,000 troops. Where were you then? Lasalle, that's better than their 3 brigadier generals. At this time a Ning came over, if you are given the rank of brigadier general, you can't charge in person, you have to be in a command position. Lasalle, what? It would be better to kill me. Never mind, Colonel. Damn Andy, why did you show up without a sound? And Ning, I was observing my lovely men, and then I heard that someone was dissatisfied with the rank, so I came here. Bernadotte, General, congratulations on becoming a lieutenant general. Napoleon seemed a little dissatisfied because Bernadotte congratulated him first. Yes, congratulations, although I think they should give you the rank of marshal. And Ning, the Republic does not have the rank of marshal. They can create one for you. Napoleon frowned. Lasalle, you just returned to Paris so you don't know? They originally planned to let Andy be the Grand Marshal of the Navy and Army. Napoleon got excited when he heard it. Fuck, so exciting? Be it, why not? And Ning, I can't make an exception for myself, it's not good. Bernadotte said sincerely, you are really strict with yourself. And Ning glanced at Bernadotte, thinking that I just poked your G-spot as a Republican by the way. In fact, the real reason is that I have a sense of déjà vu about this title and don't want to be it. At this time, all the officers in the hall gathered around Ning. In addition to the officers who served under Ning, there were other officers with outstanding performance who were promoted this time. The two groups stood in two distinct groups. Bernadotte naturally stood in the group of Ning's subordinates. Ning glanced at everyone, then clapped his hands. A large number of waiters entered the hall and served everyone a glass of wine. Ning, this is wine from Epernay. This city is one of the cities that our army defended through hard fighting. Let us raise our glasses and celebrate the victory. For France. The new brigadier general and colonels raised their glasses together, for France. After drinking the wine, Ning put the glass on the waiter's tray and continued, the external enemies have been repelled by us. Although the parliament ordered us to march into the Rhine, the current logistical supply situation does not allow for an expedition for the time being. Next, you will each lead a troop to the rebellious area to quell the rebellion. Looking forward to your performance. Murat and Ning watched silently from the side. Ning got a major, but Murat didn't get any merit because he was always by Frost's side, so he was only a captain. He said with great longing, I wish I could be among those toasting. Ning, don't worry, I always feel that there will be plenty of battles to fight in the future, and the best era for soldiers has come. Chapter 286 A Sudden Marriage. And Ning was still not satisfied after drinking one glass of wine, so she asked the waiter for another glass of wine, and then raised her glass to everyone. I am so happy today, drink more. I wish you all good health. Everyone raised their glasses together, good health. As soon as the voice fell, a messenger sneaked into the banquet hall and went straight to Berthier, whispering something in the ear of the chief of staff who was also promoted to brigadier general. And Ning directly joked, Berthier, what are you plotting behind my back? Do you want to wear a maid outfit again? Fanny silently picked up a glass and threw it on the ground and broke it. Oops, sorry, my hand slipped. I was so careless. And Ning, you don't need your maid outfit. Why are you so nervous? Don't blame me. I had to get rid of the maid outfit that Berthier wore last time, which resulted in me not having a new maid outfit to change into for the next few days. I still remember that embarrassing feeling vividly. And Ning, just because Berthier wore it, I have to get rid of it? As a maid, you also have mysophobia? Then don't you have to treat every cleaning as a tough battle? Napoleon, Fanny is also fighting in her own field. She is a respectable maid. And Ning, okay, Berthier, you scared Fanny to the point of throwing the cup. Tell me the news. Berthier nodded, it's good news from Italy. Davout defeated the Austrian army on the plain north of the Mantua fortress and captured the Austrian commander, Count Bellegarde. He asked the count to personally persuade the Mantua fortress, which had been besieged for more than a year, to surrender. The officers in the hall praised, it is worthy of Davout. Napoleon was so happy as if he had won the battle himself, he is indeed the best fighter among us. I saw it in the Battle of Beach. La Salle, it is a pity that his fighting ability was exchanged for his hair. Yes, wherever Davout is, the topic of hair cannot be avoided. Bernadotte, I have heard of General Davout's reputation for a long time. It is said that he is as fierce as Sir Frost. I really hope to meet him. And Ning, you will have a chance. Berthier, draft a congratulatory telegram in my name, I mean a congratulatory letter, use all the praises that can be used, and then tell him that this Major General is not given because of his great victory, but is a reward for his achievements before this battle. The reward for this great victory will be sent to him later. In fact, Davout is now a Major General. If he is promoted again, he will be on the same level as Ning, so promotion is temporarily out of the question, unless Ning really becomes the Field Marshal himself. But he could still get a medal, as the Parliament was just about to set up the Republic's own medal system. Based on Davout's military prowess, Ning could imagine how he would look like with a medal on his chest in the future. Everyone discussed Davout's military honors and hair for a long time, and then Christina came in and announced, it's time for lunch, let's have lunch together. La Salle, I've been hungry for a long time, let's have lunch. The day was spent in a reunion with his officers. Because Ning had moved back to the royal palace, He said goodbye to the officers when night fell and returned to Paris. The Palace of Versailles is now a complete barracks, and it is reasonable for officers to enjoy luxurious suites in the Palace of Versailles. After returning to the royal palace, the butler told Ning that the ball was ready. Because Ning didn't want to be too extravagant, there had never been a ball in the Palace of Versailles before, at most a tea party. After all, the cost of a tea party is mainly on snacks, which is relatively low. Today was the first ball held by Ning, so naturally there were many people who responded. And Ning stood on the terrace of the royal palace, looking towards the gate, and saw the carriages coming to the ball lined up in a long line, and the wind and rain lanterns hanging in front of the carriages merged into a long line. Recently, due to the chaos in Paris and all the men going to join the army, there were no lamplighters in Paris at night, and the street lights became pure decorations. The streets of Paris were dark at night. Therefore, the carriages had to hang wind and rain lanterns next to the driver's seat to light the way, just like driving in the wild. Some carriages were also equipped with mirrors to reflect the light of the wind and rain lanterns forward. And Ning looked at the long river of cars and teased, "People who don't know would think the king is back." Hearing Ning's half self-deprecating complaints, Christina laughed. "After all, tonight is your first appearance in the Parisian social scene, and all the upper-class people in Paris are here. And Ning, I hope they don't look down on me, a cobbler." "How could that be? Who dares to look down on Mr. Andy Frost, the ever-victorious general, the guardian of Paris, and the founder of the Republic?" Christina laughed, and then solemnly changed her words. "Oh, no, I should call you Your Excellency." And Ning also laughed. He put his arm around Christina's waist and said something flirtatious, but Christina said, "Okay, I'm going to go down to entertain the ladies who are already here." And Ning could only shrug his shoulders and reluctantly let go of his fiancée's waist. Christina was about to leave, but suddenly laughed. "What a big deal, I'm just a fiancé, but I'm doing the things of a married wife." That's right, according to the rules of this era, a fiancé would not be the hostess of a banquet to welcome guests. And Ning, "Then let's just get married. We've been engaged for a while anyway, so there's no need to be too strict about the one-year engagement rule." Christina was stunned. "Huh? This? I haven't thought about it. Mainly because you've always shown no interest in this area, and you're so busy. The enemies abroad have been repelled for the time being. I won't be too busy recently. It's a good opportunity to get married during this period. In this way, you will have to run around like a real hostess." "I'm already running around like a real hostess." Christina paused, then sighed. "Oh my God, I've imagined proposal scenes countless times, but never thought it would be like this. You should pay more attention to the atmosphere and romance and so on." And Ning, "The most romantic thing I can think of is to grow old with you." Don't laugh. You have to understand the poor reserve of love words for an older office worker. It's good enough that he can come up with lyrics. But Christina seemed to be touched by this cheesy love talk, and her expression softened noticeably. "Andy, you are always like this, always able to give me unexpected surprises." And Ning hugged his fiancée who was about to leave. "So, what's the answer?" "Christina, isn't it natural to answer? I promise you, I also want to grow old with you." And Ning kissed his fiancée naturally. Although he had tried it countless times, this time it seemed sweeter than before. Chapter 287, Red Book and Iron Certificate. After completing the proposal, and Ning and Christina hugged for a while, then Christina pushed him away and said, "Okay, I'm going to greet the guests." And Ning, "Okay, by the way, let's announce this at the ball tonight, and the preparations for the wedding will also begin." And Ning suddenly became nervous. This was his first marriage in 2 lives, so he couldn't rush it. "Christina, do you have any requirements for the wedding?" And Ning raised his eyebrows. In his previous life, he always thought that the most romantic wedding was the wedding on the execution ground he learned in the textbook. He thought this was so romantic. But it might be a bit unlucky to say this, especially in the current environment. Paris executes 50 people every day, which is almost half of the number of people who die from gunshots in the United States every day. This is simply terrible. After seeing Christina off, Fanny came in. "You should also change your clothes," Fanny said. And Ning, can't I just wear a military uniform? Military uniforms are the formal attire of soldiers." "Fanny, that was when you were a poor soldier just starting out. Now you are the savior of France, a rare genius military strategist. How can you wear an ordinary military uniform to attend the ball? The best tailor in Paris has already made a set of military uniforms himself, and has been looking for a chance to give it to you. After hearing the news of your ball, he immediately sent it. And Ning, is that so? A little bit of trivia: in this era, military uniforms did not have as rigid regulations as in later generations. The military uniforms of noble officers were actually custom-made and had their own personal styles. As long as they had the general characteristics of a military uniform, they would be regarded as military uniforms in this era. So many of the nobles' military uniforms would have a lot of fancy things, such as gold thread and various embroidery. And Ning, okay, I'll just go change one. Fanny clapped her hands, and a servant came out with a hanger with Ning's new military uniform on it. Behind the servant followed a middle-aged man who looked very stylish. The temperament of the middle-aged man reminded Ning of the Kingsman in the movie Kingsman, The Golden Circle. Yes, the one played by Colin Firth. The next moment, Ning thought that the middle-aged man was going to turn around and close the door, put on the bolt, and then teach her what if you don't know etiquette, you can't stand. Fortunately, this man was not wearing a suit and his equipment was not complete. The middle-aged man saluted Ning. "Your Excellency General, it's a pleasure to serve you. I put a lot of thought into making this military uniform, and I believe it should be worthy of your supreme honor." And Ning rubbed his eyes, and then said, "You should bring a light, I can't see what this uniform looks like." As soon as she finished speaking, Fanny picked up the wind and rain lantern and pulled up the wick to make the fire burn brighter. At this point, Ning no longer wanted to ask Fanny where she got the props from. The only question was that the mage's body was very magical. Ning carefully observed the new military uniform under the light, and then commented, "I will become a peacock in the courtship period when I put it on." The tailor was startled. "Don't you like it?" "Fanny, you mean that wearing this military uniform will turn him into the dream lover of all the ladies?" "Ning, don't misinterpret what I mean." "Fanny, I just don't want you to scare Mr. Tailor." Ning then realized that the tailor began to sweat, and he was obviously screaming, and the ace agent style just now was gone. "Well, I didn't think enough. After all, in this environment, people outside are saying that anyone who offends Andy Frost will go straight to the guillotine. Even Berthier thought that he would be sent to the guillotine after making a mistake. Ning, don't be afraid. Although my friend Robespierre is now the chairman of the National Salvation Committee and sees dozens of people sent to the guillotine every day, I don't have the hobby of sending people to the guillotine. Actually, Robespierre didn't either. He was just punishing the enemies of France. You may not know that Robespierre was a lawyer who advocated the abolition of the death penalty before the revolution. This is true. As a result, the tailor was even more scared. "If you don't like it, I'll modify it right away." "No, I like it very much, I like it very much." Ning could only accept this gorgeous military uniform helplessly. "Fanny, come and help me change into it." As he said that, Ning took off his military uniform and handed it to the servant who refreshed from nowhere, and then put on the new military uniform with the help of Fanny. This military uniform exudes a pleasant lavender scent, and it has obviously been well fumigated. Two servants brought a dressing mirror so that Ning could look at herself in the mirror wearing a gorgeous new military uniform. Unexpectedly, it was not bad. At this time, a maid came to the terrace. "Sir, Miss Christina asked me to inform you that you can eat something in the small hall next to the main hall." In this era, because the ball was smelly and long, and dancing was still a strenuous job, the dignitaries would eat something to fill their stomachs first to prevent themselves from running out of energy halfway through dancing. Of course, there are some rules for eating this, so that the distinguished adults cannot fart at the ball, or have to leave the ball to squat. After all, clothes in this era were very complicated. It was very troublesome for men and women to take off their formal clothes and go to the toilet. "Ning, I'll go right away." Then Ning said to the tailor, "Thank you for your military uniform. If it's convenient, you can stay and attend the ball tonight." Tailor, no, I'm a servant. How can I attend your ball?" "Ning, now it's a republic. Everyone is equal. Anyone can attend my ball." The tailor still shook his head. No, I'm satisfied that you can wear the clothes I made. By the way, can you please leave a receipt?" Ning nodded and was about to tell Fanny when he suddenly realized something. Then he looked at the tailor again. In Paris, because of Frost's huge reputation, anything he wrote could potentially become a gold medal of immunity from death. Someone had already successfully escaped because he had Ning's handwritten letter. Although life and death are no longer decided by a jury, many people are still looking for this kind of golden ticket to avoid death. After all, The chairman of the National Salvation Committee is Robespierre, a close friend of Frost. The tailor should also want such a red-lettered certificate. And Ning suddenly felt sad, but considering that someone specially made such an exquisite military uniform, he said to Fanny, "Bring paper and pen." Paper and pen were soon brought up along with the table. And Ning stood by the table and wrote a line of words on a note paper in a flamboyant manner. "Thank you for the military uniform you made yourself. I did receive it and I like it very much." Then he handed the note to the tailor. "Take it. Thank you for your service to the Republic." The tailor took the note paper with grateful hands, and his face was full of joy. And Ning turned and left the terrace. Chapter 288 The Battle of the Three Emperors, but with double quotes. As soon as Ning entered the banquet hall of the royal palace, she saw a large group of young people gathered in a corner of the banquet hall. After Ning entered the venue, a group of middle-aged and elderly men immediately surrounded her like bees seeing nectar, so a strange situation was formed in the venue. One side was full of young men, ranging from those who were just old enough to go out in social occasions to those in their early 20s, while on Ning's side was full of uncles. Napoleon soon discovered this. Young people and uncles are like the North and South poles of the earth. And Ning looked at Napoleon's young face and complained, "You are only 25 years old, and I am only 5 years older than you. Napoleon, after 25, you are an uncle, admit it." And Ning shrugged, "Okay. So what's over there?" "Oh, it seems to be a celebrity in the Parisian social circle, called Madame Beauharnais." When Ning heard Napoleon say this, she had a strange feeling that Napoleon in this time and space probably would not fall in love with Josephine, because his first love had been taken away by an Italian lady in Milan. This shows that history has no interest in this level of modification and will not correct it. "Napoleon, by the way, my sister is also attending this ball. She is 14 years old." And Ning, "What? That's not right. Wasn't she born in 1780? What are you talking about? She was born in 1779. I told you so. She entered the Brienne Military Academy 3 years ago because it could save the family some money. At that time, our family relied on my officer's salary to live, and that guy Joseph was not reliable at all. So I agreed to my sister's request. If I knew that we would be so successful now, I would never let her go to the military academy." And Ning, "You are prejudiced against ladies who go to the Brienne Military Academy. Let me tell you, women who graduate from military academies have many advantages that cannot be compared with those ladies who are pampered in Paris." "Napoleon, do you have eyes behind you and see the lady coming?" And Ning turned back suddenly and saw Christina looking at her not far behind her, smiling like a flower. And Ning, No, I didn't see it. I really think that women who graduated from military academies have a different kind of charm." "Napoleon, you are wrong. People will misunderstand that you will have bad thoughts when you see girls from military academies in the future. You should say, although military academies will make girls lose a lot of tenderness, but for me, as long as it is her, everything can be ignored. She is the most beautiful." And Ning, "Are you teaching me how to pick up girls now?" "Hey LaSalle, Napoleon is teaching me how to pick up girls." LaSalle came over immediately. "What, he actually has the nerve to teach?" In Milan, his face turned red in front of Ms. Langle, and he couldn't even speak clearly. You should have seen how embarrassed he was at that time. As a result, now he is confidently teaching you how to pick up girls? Is it because the correspondence with Ms. Langle gave him the courage? And Ning laughed out loud. Although he had never seen Napoleon's embarrassment in front of a beautiful woman, he had read the cheesy love poems written by Napoleon. Napoleon probably didn't realize that his love letters would be compiled into a book in the future, otherwise he would have burned the letters. And Ning happily laughed at Napoleon with LaSalle, just like he teased Brother Shuang with netizens before he traveled through time. So the air was filled with a happy atmosphere. And Ning decided that his headquarters would have two sources of happiness in the future. One was Berthier and women's clothing, and the other was the embarrassed and immature Napoleon. Because they saw Ning laughing, the uncles around him also laughed. Many of them obviously didn't even understand what was going on, but they smiled. And Ning noticed this, and then felt a sense of loneliness surrounded by lies and hypocrites. Fortunately, there are sincere friends like Napoleon and LaSalle around. Oh, of course, there is also Robespierre. Suddenly, Ning had a hallucination. He seemed to see the Jacobin Club, where his close friends Marat, Danton, himself and Robespierre were drinking and chatting happily. The scene at this moment was so similar. Ning was in a trance, and suddenly he heard a voice calling him, Mr. Frost? Or should I call you General? And Ning woke up from his thoughts and turned his head to look for the source of the voice. Then he saw a beautiful middle-aged woman who looked very familiar. He felt familiar because he had seen this woman in a portrait. It must be said that the painters of this era still had a good grasp of the spirit of the characters. Just by looking at the portraits that have been passed down to later generations, one can recognize the real person. Wait a minute, how beautiful would Princess Sissy be? Damn, if I mess up like this, Princess Sissy would not be born, right? And Ning's distraction was obviously misunderstood. Josephine Beauharnais immediately showed a victorious smile, but Christina stepped forward and said apologetically, "My fiancé often suddenly loses his mind like this." "I'm really sorry, Madame Beauharnais." Napoleon and Lascelles also nodded together. "Yes, he is always like this." Napoleon did not forget to brag, "This is probably the quirk of smart people. To be honest, I have never seen anyone smarter than Andy." Lascelles, "Yes, it really hasn't." "Definitely." At this time, Ning had to wake up from his thoughts because his foot was stepped on by his fiancée, because his foot was covered by the hem of Christina's big skirt, and no one noticed this small detail. He immediately saw Napoleon winking desperately, then glanced at his fiancée and understood. "Ning, sorry, I just suddenly thought of, I thought of the first time Christina and I met at the ball. Before that, my impression of Christina has always been a man, although her chest muscles are very strong. I didn't expect that it was because she was wrapped too tightly that it felt hard to the touch." Josephine's smile froze. Christina's smile also froze. But the reasons for the freezing on both sides are obviously different. "Ning, Madame Beauharnais, I've heard of your name for a long time. Paul Barras often mentioned you to me." Ning deliberately used the full name to show a sense of distance. After all, in the eyes of Ning, the leader of the revolution, an ambitious man and speculator like Paul Barras is not a good character. Although Ning originally wanted to be an ambitious man and a speculator. In addition, Ning mentioned Barras here to remind Josephine, meaning I know your little things and I can meet 8 men who have slept with you when I have a glass of wine in a club in Paris. Josephine unexpectedly quickly controlled her expression and said to Ning with a smile, "Barras also often talked to me about you, saying that you are the smartest and most ambitious person in France." And Ning thought to himself, my goodness, was Napoleon in the last time and space lost in such sweet words? And Ning was about to respond when a new childish voice interrupted the conversation. "Ah, brother. Oh, this should be the savior of France, your brother's guide and idol, Mr. Andy Frost, right?" Chapter 289 Pauline Bonaparte, The Coming of the Saint. And Ning was ready to watch Josephine and his fiancée fight, and it was also a good opportunity to see if Christina could control the situation. After all, he would be fighting abroad in the future. Except for Russia, he might have to fight all over Europe, and he might even have to go to Egypt. Christina was his spokesperson in Paris when he was not in Paris. It was very important for Ning that she could stabilize the situation and maintain good interpersonal relationships. Now it would be good to see if she had this ability. Otherwise, he might have to ask Laser Zion Okinato, who also stayed in Paris, to collect intelligence on the social scene. And Ning had already imagined the scene of Christina and Josephine using their front armor to butt heads. In his impression, women's confrontations were either like this, which was usually seen in Japanese harem anime, or slapping each other and pulling hair, which was often seen in Douyin and Kuai Shao. And Ning had never seen a real scheming woman fighting each other, and he couldn't imagine it. He could only rely on his beautiful vision and imagine that they were using their front armor to butt heads while making harsh remarks. Josephine's front armor happened to be very substantial, and it looked like it could withstand 600 penetrations, so she could easily compete with Christina, who also had 600 front armors. Then, a third party suddenly broke in at this time, changing the style of the painting. And Ning looked in the direction of the voice, but didn't see anyone. He was puzzled for a moment, then lowered his eyes, and saw the very pretty Pauline Bonaparte, Napoleon's sister. The moment he saw Pauline, and Ning was stunned, because her style was too similar to the game Banner of the Maidens, and she was wearing a military uniform just like in the game. Could it be that the main beauty of the game Banner of the Maidens was someone who traveled back from this era? Of course, the real Pauline was still a little different from the one in the illustration. This Pauline had a thick braid that dragged behind her head. In Ning's opinion, this was a big plus. Paulina chattered for a long time before realizing that Ning was stunned. She immediately became nervous. Sorry, I should introduce myself first. No, according to social etiquette, I should wait for someone to introduce me. I shouldn't be so familiar. And Ning, no, 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 you don't have to be so reserved. My friend's sister is my sister. Whatever my sister does is right. Napoleon, Andy, don't spoil her like this. It's not good for her growth. Polina raised her hand and pulled the lower eyelid of her right eye, stuck out her tongue, and made a face at Napoleon. And Ning was convinced. How could there be such a character with two-dimensional attributes? Did she suddenly travel from the realistic French style to the two-dimensional style world? Wait a minute, that's not right. My maid is also in the two-dimensional style. Is this the truth of this world? Am I actually in a two-dimensional cute work? And Ning was complaining in his heart while looking at Polina, and then he asked a question that made Christina's blood pressure soar. Miss Bonaparte. Call me Polina, a real sister should be called by her name. Polina interrupted and Ning. Well, okay, Polina, you also pestered? This is not good, especially when you are young, it is not good for your health. Polina froze. Napoleon smiled happily and said, she still needs to pester, she didn't. My mother is always worried that her future children will starve. And Ning, is that so? That's great, no, I mean it's a pity. Polina, why do you bully me like my brother? He said that he would treat you as a sister. Napoleon said gloatingly. And Ning, I mean, it's important to have different styles. This is a question of diversity. The reason why France has such a brilliant culture is because it integrates the art and aesthetics of various European countries and nationalities. You see, France has gathered the art and literature of the Italian Renaissance, and then there are outstanding musicians from Germany. I mean the German region. Beethoven, who is conducting the orchestra in the orchestra pit now, is an outstanding young German musician. So, diversity is really important. There must be men in this world who prefer refreshing. Christina suddenly said, do you think I'm not refreshing enough? And Ning, you are good too. Very good. Polina smiled, and she smiled very happily, as innocent as a real 14-year-old child. And Ning looked at Polina like this and exclaimed sincerely, your brother protects you very well. Seeing you so carefree, I know that Napoleon is a good brother. Napoleon blushed. I didn't do anything, really. I just did what I should do. There's nothing worthy of your praise. Polina looked at Napoleon like this, with a shocked face. Oh my God, I have never seen a brother like this. It's eye-opening. At this time LaSalle came up. Haha, you haven't seen it, you will see it often when you follow us in the future. Oh, by the way, you probably have never heard your brother recite his love poems to you. Don't worry, I will recite them to you. I have memorized them just to laugh at him at the right time. After that, LaSalle lowered his voice and said to Polina mysteriously, by the way, I have another magic spell. You just have to tell your brother, the watermill outside Milan, and he will. Napoleon, enough. There is no such thing. We have never dated there. Look. Doling. LaSalle said happily. Pauline laughed so hard that she fell backwards. And Ning looked at Napoleon carefully, thinking that you don't look like an ogre, so why would you choose the same place as an ogre disguised as a human? Or is there something special about the water wheel mill? What special play can be played there? Pauline was laughing when she suddenly noticed Ning's expression, so she said cheerfully, it appears. My brother said that you would be in a daze like this from time to time. LaSalle, this is not being in a daze, I am receiving the oracle. Our general, our guide, is just like a prophet of God. Pauline, really? Actually, I was distracted. I often get distracted. And Ning, being distracted is a symbol of intelligence, your brother said. Napoleon was fearless when he praised Ning just now, but now he is embarrassed by what Ning said. Pauline, then my brother is not smart. I have never seen him distracted. LaSalle laughed. He seemed to be extremely happy to have a comrade in arms who could bury Napoleon together. He laughed and waved his hand. Bring some wine, Bonaparte. Your sister and I must have a lot in common. Napoleon suddenly frowned. What? That won't do. I won't hand my sister over to a playboy who flirts with other girls all day long. No, I should say that I don't trust the character of you hussars, and I won't hand my sister over to a hussar. And Ning thought, really? Then when Pauline meets her Mr. Right in history, I will laugh at you. After all, he is also a cavalryman. The conversation that seemed like a family conversation continued, and Ning always felt as if he had forgotten something. He thought about it. Yes, it seems that Josephine was left aside. Oh, forget it. This kind of socialite is not as attractive as a girl as pure as a saint. Who cares about her? Pauline also has pigtails. Can Josephine compare with pigtails? Chapter 290. The master of Malmaison hits a wall for the first time. Josephine Beauharnais looked at Pauline Bonaparte, who was talking happily with Frost, and it took a lot of effort to control her expression. She had never been so angry before. In the past, she was always the pearl of the venue and the focus of everyone's attention. She never thought that her limelight would be snatched away by a yellow-haired girl. She had never suffered such an injustice. She looked at Pauline Bonaparte carefully. She looked like an ordinary girl, and her figure was the same as a man, except for the pigtails. There was no difference between her and men. After thinking about it, Josephine felt that the reason why she lost to Pauline was just because she was Napoleon's sister. Unexpectedly, the rumors were true. It was said that Napoleon was a favorite of General Frost. It seemed that the best way to get close to General Frost was to get close to Napoleon first. Thinking of this, Josephine interrupted and said, "Excuse me, who is this?" In social occasions, it is very impolite to talk to people directly without an intermediary. Of course, it is now the era of the Republic, and the Republic advocates new trends, so there are more people who come forward to talk directly. However, Josephine is a veteran of Parisian social life, and she still maintains the habits of the previous era. Everyone's eyes turned to her again. Then no one spoke. Andy Frost seemed not to realize that Josephine was talking to him, and just looked at her. And Ning realized that in a social occasion, this question must be asked to him in this situation. After all, social occasions still maintain the previous order of respect and inferiority. In the past, people of high status did not take the initiative to speak, and people of low status could not come forward to speak. Before, he thought Josephine was asking Napoleon. "And Ning, you are asking me? This is my best friend's sister, Pauline Bonaparte. Pauline, this is Madame Beauharnais. Josephine, hello, Miss Pauline. You don't look like Mr. Bonaparte, you are so beautiful." And Ning thought to herself, where are your eyes? You can tell she is Napoleon's sister just by looking at her height. Pauline, hello, Madame Beauharnais, I think my brother is quite handsome too. LaSalle didn't care about social etiquette and looked directly at Napoleon to see his expression, only to find that Napoleon was unmoved. However, LaSalle was a man who could make fun of Napoleon without even seeing him blush. Oh, the great hero of Sedan blushed when his sister praised him. Napoleon, I didn't blush. You're talking nonsense, he obviously blushed. And Ning suddenly felt a strange switch triggered and said to Napoleon, next time LaSalle tells you you blush, just answer him, you're radiant. Napoleon laughed. Ha ha ha, good idea, did you hear me, LaSalle, you're radiant. And Ning, hey, why is your face yellow again? Napoleon was simply confused. Yellow? Why don't you play by the rules? And Ning, I'll teach you, just say this is wax to keep you warm. Napoleon, you put wax on your face in winter. LaSalle, he's a shoemaker, waxing shoes all day long, so he might have this skill. Seeing that the three good girlfriends began to tease each other as if no one was around, Madame Beauharnais quickly interrupted. What a surprise, I suddenly discovered a different side of the hero of Sedan. And Ning, really? You didn't discover a different side of me through the conversation just now? I, a great Italian hero, don't have this honor? Right, Madame Josephine Beauharnais of Malmaison. Josephine, in fact, there have been many rumors about your character, and your wit and humor have long been expected. But this Mr. Bonaparte was an unknown in the Parisian social circle before. Everyone just said that Frost's follower LaSalle immediately activated his skills and started to make fun of him. You are wrong, it should be the shoemaker's follower, or the Corsican follower of the shoemaker. These were the names Frost's enemies used to call Napoleon. Even Josephine, who had been active in the social scene for many years, almost couldn't hold it. Then she smiled and said, at that time, Paris had not yet been conquered by the charm of His Excellency the General, so this is understandable. And Ning, so what are you here for? He used you here to highlight the sense of distance, but Europeans don't have this saying, and friends often visit each other. Josephine, of course I came to congratulate the French heroes who won a great victory on the battlefield. And Ning, that's not right. The information I received said that you just came back from Paul Barras's base. Did Mr. Barras want you to bring me a message? And Ning actually didn't know that Josephine had just returned from Barras, he just inferred. The whole of Paris knows that the owner of Malmaison Castle is currently in an ongoing relationship with Paris, and the fact that Malmaison Castle did not hold a salon or tea party a few days ago was unusual, so it is very likely that the owner of the castle is not here. But Josephine's face changed slightly. What you said is right. A hero like you can't just admire. And Ning interrupted Josephine and pointed at Pauline. This is someone who admires me, Madame Beauharnais. I can tell them apart. Who in this hall is my true supporter and who is a speculator who comes here to test the waters and get benefits? I can tell them all at a glance. This is mainly because Ning has read many books on French history. And Ning even remembers the biographies of famous figures in this period of history. It is clear who is loyal and who is treacherous. This is the advantage of a time traveler. Madame Beauharnais may have judged that it is meaningless to continue to stay in front of Ning stubbornly, so she made up a random reason and retreated to her previous position, becoming the object of the young people's admiration again. And Ning heard Christina sigh. It's not good for you to be so straightforward. Leave the social matters to me in the future. This kind of thing requires ambiguity and does not say anything. And Ning thought to herself, I know, playing Tai Chi and muddying the waters, who doesn't understand? But now I am General Frost, and I can ignore whoever I want in Paris. After a few more battles, and Ning might even be able to get the rank of Marshal. There are no marshals in the Republic, but when that time comes, there will be many people who will propose to restore the rank of Marshal. Josephine Beauharnais returned in defeat, and returned to the circle of stars in the past. A young man came up to her and said, Josephine, what did you do there? Josephine Beauharnais looked up at the person who came and immediately changed her expression and smiled. Saint Just, you are here too. I just wanted to invite General Frost to a tea party at Malmaison Castle tomorrow, but he didn't seem to like me very much. Saint Just, how could that be? You are still radiant today. Josephine's eyes rolled and she sighed. Hey, I wonder if there is anyone who can talk to General Frost and help me take the invitation. I think there must be some misunderstanding between me and the General. Saint Just, that's easy, I'll just take it there. Do you have a friendship with the General? A little, but... Saint Just didn't continue. Josephine knew what the unspoken part was, but I am very familiar with Robespierre. Josephine asked casually, where's Mr. Robespierre? He should be a close friend of the General, why doesn't he come to the General's ball? Saint Just, Robespierre doesn't like this kind of occasion very much. He should still be at home revising the draft of tomorrow's proposal. Okay, I will invite the General for you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291 Archangel of Revolution. And Ning was also commenting on Josephine who suddenly approached her. Napoleon, the lady of Malmaison Castle is as beautiful as the rumors say. And Ning looked at Napoleon in surprise. You don't want that lady or lady in Milan. LaSalle, Andy, what you said is wrong. A man should be merciful everywhere. Yes, you went to a city in Italy to find a widow. Messina told me that when Vukcevich attacked in the morning, you ran out of the widow's house with your pants up. And Ning complained without hesitation. Napoleon immediately did not miss this opportunity and began to ridicule LaSalle. There is such a thing. It's really out of control, LaSalle. LaSalle didn't care. If you think you can get back at me like this, you think too much. I am a hussar, and we hussars are shameless. Murat coughed. Napoleon, look, someone disagrees with you. Murat, come here and comment on the remarks of your predecessor. LaSalle was previously the commander of the cavalry unit directly under the Ning command, which is almost the same position as Murat now, so he was referred to as a predecessor. Murat came over nervously. I just happen to have some phlegm. It's not that I have any opinion on what Colonel LaSalle said. LaSalle, Murat, tell him, do we hussars drink and eat meat wherever we go, and then look for women? Murat was embarrassed. This thing actually varies from person to person. He disagrees with you. Napoleon laughed. So it's not the hussars who are shameless, but you. LaSalle shrugged. But I am the best among the hussars. I am the representative of the hussars. Napoleon, you can only represent yourself. And Ning was watching the two lively guys under his command PvP, and Pauline suddenly came over, pulled his sleeve and asked, are they always like this? And Ning, always like this, I'm used to it. There are several daily routines in our headquarters. One is Lassalle's bragging, and then Napoleon criticizes him, and the other is Berthier's maid outfit. Berthier's cough was heard not far behind Ning. Paulina, is that so? I thought the headquarters of a general like you would be more high-end? Not at all. My officers, my soldiers and I are usually like old friends. And Ning was famous for being humble. When he walked in the team, junior soldiers would greet him or complain to him from time to time. As long as it wasn't when everyone was shouting long live, and Ning and the soldiers were indeed like friends. Paulina showed a longing expression. Really? That's great. I also want to serve in such a headquarters. You will have a chance. You should have 2 years of studies in Brienne, and another year to study at the Paris Military Academy. When you come out, you can join the army and serve. I promise to transfer you to my headquarters. After Ning patted his chest, he realized that there seemed to be another meaning to his words. He quickly turned his head to look at Christina, but Christina had already gone to greet others. She was the hostess of the ball and had many tasks. After making sure that he had not caused his fiancée to misunderstand him, Ning breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as he turned his head back, he saw Paulina's shining eyes. Paulina, what does the battlefield look like? I heard that you would drink on the battlefield and watch your troops crush the enemy. Ning, well, that's right. I think the sight of the enemy being annihilated is the best appetizer. In fact, Ning only half-heartedly developed this habit, not that he really wanted to show off. Just like the liberation of the Bastille, the real situation was that he was carried in by the crowd in the chaos, and he himself was just a history enthusiast who went to the famous historical scene to punch in that day. However, things have already come to this, and he can only pretend to be real. Just like now when Ning talks about the Bastille with others, he will insist that he personally organized and commanded the attack that day, personally fired artillery to blow down the gates of the Bastille, and was the first to enter the Bastille. Anyway, the Bastille has been demolished and turned into the Bastille Square, and it was really chaotic at the time, and no one could point out Ning's mistakes. This version of Ning is similar to the version of the legend in Paris. The only difference is that Ning's version does not include Voltaire. Parisians are now convinced that Voltaire is not dead, and the one in the Pantheon is a fake. The abominable devil Louis V imprisoned Voltaire in the Bastille, and was rescued by the people who stormed the Bastille. Now 99-year-old Voltaire is still living in seclusion somewhere, looking at the republic established under his ideological guidance with satisfaction. Ning unconsciously witnessed the formation of a wild history. Who would have thought that the source of this legend was that when mobilizing the masses, it was mentioned that Voltaire was also imprisoned in the Bastille, but someone did not know what the past perfect tense was. Paulina interrupted Ning's thoughts. You really like to daydream, and your mind wanders from time to time. Napoleon, people with active minds are like this, they never know when a switch will be triggered and they will wander. Ning, my thinking is more divergent. So what were you talking about just now? Paulina, I'm asking about your life in Brienne. Ning, you want to know this. In Brienne, your brother was discriminated against by the French nobles all day long. They said he was a poor man from the remote area of Corsica. And because I was a shoemaker, they looked down on me, so the two of us became a pair of brothers in distress. Napoleon smiled and said, yeah, but that was a blessing in disguise for me. Is that so? Where are those nobles who looked down on you before? Ning and Napoleon looked at each other and laughed together. Pauline looked puzzled. What are you laughing at? Lassalle explained, little sister Pauline, what era is it now? Of course, those nobles have been guillotined. Some of them are fast runners and are now in foreign countries. But it doesn't matter, we will always catch them back. Ning, there is one good thing about these nobles, that is, they run faster than anyone else. As soon as Ning finished speaking, he saw Saint just coming towards him from the group where Josephine Beauharnais was. Because he was impressed by the Archangel of the Revolution in many French Revolution movies, Ning took the opportunity to get to know this new orator who had emerged in the Jacobins. Just like in historical records, Saint Just's enthusiasm for the revolution is unquestionable. He and Robespierre, who was also devoted to the revolution, hit it off immediately and are now Robespierre's most trusted person. Seeing that Robespierre's confidant was coming to him, Ning had to give face to his old friend, so he stopped chatting and waited for him to come over. Chapter 292 The dance begins. Saint Just was still several steps away from Ning, and he opened his arms directly. General Frost, Maximilien asked me to apologize to you. He can't come to your ball today. Ning was speechless. My relationship with Robespierre is no closer than yours. Why are you pretending? So he sneered and said, when he had dinner with me yesterday, he told me that he would not come today. Saint Just was directly embarrassed. Christina shook her head, probably speechless about Ning's domineering CEO-style socializing. And Paulina looked at the interaction between Ning and Saint Just curiously, probably guessing what the relationship between the two was. Saint Just quickly adjusted his expression and said to Ning, he did say that, but out of courtesy he asked me to say sorry to you today. And Ning, I know. I wish you a good time at the ball. Saint Just, of course, I will. By the way, Miss Beauharnais over there asked me to invite you to her tea party. It will be tomorrow afternoon. And Ning pursed his lips. He knew that Saint Just came here to make a request on behalf of Josephine. Although it seems that it is no big deal to just go to a tea party, but with Ning's current status, just going to the tea party is enough to have substantial benefits. If he went to the Malmaison castle to attend the tea party, Paris would definitely spread all kinds of rumors, saying that he had an affair with Madame Beauharnais or something. A shrewd socialite like Josephine would definitely turn these rumors into something beneficial to herself immediately. And Ning didn't want to go. Even if Saint Just was Robespierre's confidant, and she should go there for Robespierre's sake, and Ning still didn't want to go. Besides, based on Ning's understanding of Robespierre, he didn't care about such things at all. So Ning opened her mouth to refuse, but Christina said, my fiancé doesn't like this kind of thing very much. Can I do it for him? Saint Just smiled and said, of course, yes, the general will definitely be busy with military affairs. We still have a war with 4 countries to fight. At this time, the music sounded. Christina, it's time now. We have to lead the first dance. Are you ready? And Ning, I'm always ready. The question is, are you ready? Christina smiled, please be gentle when you step on my feet. This is not something I can control. And Ning shrugged, then took his fiancée's arm and walked towards the dance floor. Because the master wanted to lead the dance, Saint Just, who wanted to say something, could only shut up helplessly. He couldn't stop others from fulfilling their duties as a master, right? After Ning entered the dance floor, Napoleon asked LaSalle, do you have a target tonight? LaSalle smiled evilly, then turned to Pauline and said, dear Miss Bonaparte, may I have the honor of asking you to dance with me? Napoleon stepped forward and shook LaSalle's hand. I would be very happy to do so. LaSalle? Napoleon, my name is Bonaparte too. But you're not a lady. I can be. Huh? Then I'll see. Then the two of them went to the dance floor while shouting. Pauline looked at the two of them blankly, and then met Saint Just's eyes, so Saint Just took the opportunity to ask, Miss Bonaparte, may I have the honor to ask you to dance with me? Pauline asked seriously, I am a girl, is that okay? Saint Just was embarrassed. What? Pauline, don't you want to find a man to dance with? Just like my brother and LaSalle. I thought you thought I was a man. After all, I am wearing a military uniform and have no breasts. Saint Just, you misunderstood. I don't mean that. I just want to dance with a girl. Pauline, but now the music has passed the prelude, and I have learned the etiquette of the ball. I shouldn't enter the dance floor at this time, right? Saint Just could only smile awkwardly. Then I'll take my leave, and I wish you a good time, miss. Then Saint Just turned and walked towards Josephine. Josephine might be waiting for Saint Just's result, so she actually rejected all the dance invitations and waited there for Saint Just to come back. This was very rare. After all, Josephine was the queen of the ball. She was always present on the dance floor. As soon as Saint Just approached Josephine, she couldn't wait to ask, is it done? Half of it. Miss Telestal agreed to attend your tea party. Josephine bit her lip and looked at Frost and Christina who were spinning on the dance floor. Christina's expression was not very good at this time. Frost had stepped on her skirt more than once. Josephine, forget it, I'll try to invite Napoleon Bonaparte, and that LaSalle. He looks like a playboy who likes to play at balls. Saint Just, indeed, that LaSalle looks like a typical hussar, and these people like that. He paused and continued to Josephine, also, I tried to invite Napoleon Bonaparte's sister to dance, but she refused in a wonderful way. Josephine looked at Saint Just in surprise. How could a woman refuse your invitation to dance? After all, Saint Just is the archangel of the revolution and he is really handsome. Many noble ladies couldn't walk when they saw him, as if they were stuck to the floor by 502. Saint Just stroked his hair and said helplessly, maybe Miss Bonaparte only has eyes for General Frost. Josephine hated it so much. This Napoleon, I didn't expect he was such a scheming guy. He actually let his sister seduce Frost and keep the position of lover. In this era, having a lover outside of marriage was not a big deal. Sometimes it was even public, such as Queen Marie of France. She had a Swedish Count Fersen as a lover. This count went in and out of the Palace of Versailles all day, and met with Louis V frequently. Louis V didn't react, of course. This might be because the lock was too fun. So in Josephine's understanding, Napoleon introduced his sister to Frost, just to make her sister Frost's lover, to gain benefits for himself. Josephine, maybe I can talk to this scheming Napoleon about a lot. Then she muttered in a low voice, but how can I get Napoleon to dance with me? After all, women in this era cannot invite men to dance, they can only accept invitations. Saint just looked at Josephine mumbling, with a complicated expression on his face. It seems that in Paris, no, at this ball, there is more than one woman who can resist Saint Just's charm. Chapter 293 Hunter and Prey. Throughout the entire dance, Josephine was waiting for an opportunity to get close to Napoleon. Of course, she still had to dance, but it was not easy to keep staring at Napoleon because she was spinning all the time. But once she came out of the dance floor, Josephine immediately confirmed Napoleon's position. Josephine found that this Corsican didn't seem to like dancing very much. He had been sitting on the sidelines, drinking champagne, and chatting with Chief of Staff Berthier, who also didn't like dancing. Thanks to this, it wasn't difficult to keep an eye on Napoleon. Finally, Josephine got the opportunity she had been waiting for. Napoleon suddenly stood up and walked to the terrace. The main terrace of the royal palace, like the terraces of other palaces, offers a night view of the garden, so if everyone feels stuffy at the ball, they can go to the garden to get some fresh air. In this era, there were no ventilators in the house, and with so many people having fun in the hall, everyone would feel stuffy sometimes. Napoleon was no exception. Seeing Napoleon go to the terrace, Josephine immediately stood up and followed him. When they arrived at the terrace, there were already several people outside getting some fresh air. When they saw Napoleon coming out, they all came up to say hello. Then a clever guy saw Josephine coming out and immediately coughed, interrupting everyone's conversation. Now everyone saw Josephine, and they naturally understood that the two of them had fallen in love and came to the terrace to chat. So everyone politely said goodbye, leaving Napoleon alone. Napoleon also saw Josephine, and he leaned against the terrace railing, waiting for Josephine to come over. "What do you want from me?" Napoleon spoke before Josephine could speak. "Josephine, I have a tea party at the Malmaison Castle tomorrow, so I wonder if I can invite Mr. Bonaparte to come." Napoleon looked Josephine up and down and said, "You couldn't invite Andy, so you invited me as a second choice." "Josephine, you misunderstood. I was also very interested in Napoleon Bonaparte, the famous city defender who captured the younger brother of the Holy Roman Emperor." And Ning didn't hear this on the spot, otherwise she would have laughed out loud. Napoleon became a famous city defender, which is really interesting to mess up history. Napoleon was very pleased with Josephine's flattery, but he still said modestly, "I just opened the city gate and charged at the right time. In fact, I didn't do anything big." Napoleon in another time and space is very good at bragging, good at self-packaging. He always exaggerates 1 point of merit into 10 points. For example, in Austerlitz, according to Napoleon, a large number of enemies were escaping through the ice lake when the French heavy artillery collapsed the ice surface, and countless people were directly drowned. But according to the records and memories of other people of the same era, some people did run onto the frozen lake and the ice broke, but the number was much less than what Napoleon said. In short, it is certain that Napoleon was very good at self-packaging. But the Napoleon of this time and space not only stopped self-packaging, but also became modest. The flapping wings of a Ning, the butterfly, have caused visible changes. Josephine is very good at grasping other people's pain points to start a topic. Now he always feels that this seems to be Napoleon's pain point, so he said, "You can tell us all about the battle in Sedan at the tea party. I think the gentlemen and ladies who attend the tea party will like it very much." Napoleon curled his lips. "Is that so? It sounds good. So you invited Andy just to let him tell stories about the war." Josephine immediately realized that this was not Napoleon's pain point when she heard Napoleon's answer. "We want to see the heroic appearance of the most powerful general of the Republic on the battlefield." Josephine slightly corrected Napoleon's statement. "Napoleon, well, Yingzi. Why not? I can go tell you this story, And have some tea and snacks by the way. But, I've made it clear in advance. Napoleon suddenly frowned and glared at Josephine. Don't do anything that will harm Andy's interests. If you do, I will blow you to pieces with a grape shot. Josephine smiled and said, then you can rest assured. I don't have any bad intentions. Napoleon, huh? You're like a spider, hiding in a web woven by interpersonal relationships, waiting for prey to take the bait. Josephine, the spider will eat its prey, and I will be eaten by my prey. That's the difference. In another time and space, when Napoleon first met Josephine, he was still a young man, and his heart was immediately captured by the older sister. But this time and space is different. The Napoleon of this time and space has become familiar with LaSalle, and was taken by LaSalle to experience the vastness of the world. So he has no feelings at all. In fact, although Josephine's appearance is not bad, she is just so-so in the eyes of Napoleon, who has seen Italian beauties. So at this time, Napoleon responded to Josephine's hint without hesitation. Don't think of yourself as some kind of delicacy. Even if you are really a delicacy, I have the right to choose not to eat. Josephine was a little discouraged for a moment. She couldn't help but wonder if the royal palace was a place that conflicted with her. Why didn't anything go smoothly after arriving at the royal palace? She quickly adjusted her mentality, stepped forward and lay on the railing next to Napoleon, looking at the garden under the night sky, pretending to ask a casual question to continue the topic. Your sister is wearing a military uniform. Did you send her to military school? Napoleon, isn't that nonsense? I sent her to the Brienne Military Academy. So you don't plan to let her get married later? Napoleon touched his nose awkwardly. No, actually it's an economic problem. In 1790, the Great Revolution had just happened. I was just a small second lieutenant, but I had to support the whole family with a meager salary. At that time, I thought I would definitely not be able to afford the dowry for my sister's marriage, so I agreed to her request to enter the military academy. I'm not Andy. How could I predict the current situation? How could I predict that I would become the confidant of the commander-in-chief of the entire French army? Josephine raised her eyebrows and asked casually, Frost actually predicted the current situation. Napoleon became excited when he said this, and threw away his previous vigilance. Of course, you don't know how great he is. In 1781, in Brienne, he predicted the occurrence of the Great Revolution to me. Josephine was very happy to notice that this was Napoleon's pain point. So she put on a mixed expression of shock and curiosity. What? Really? Napoleon was still inexperienced and was directly dragged by the nose, of course. Let me tell you, he also predicted. Napoleon spoke with great excitement, and Josephine listened with a curious expression. Just like a hunter quietly approaching his prey. Chapter 294, Paulina's plan succeeded, right? And Ning's main job at the dance was to chat? After all, she was not a good dancer, and it was not good to step on other girls' penis all the time. There was no choice but to lead the dance as the host, but after the first dance, and Ning was completely exhausted. She sat next to her, eating and drinking, and communicating with the gentlemen and ladies who kept coming up. Paulina also ran to Ning's side, constantly looking for opportunities to ask about Ning and Napoleon's past. And Ning was very happy to tell Napoleon's sister many of Napoleon's past deeds, such as chasing the nobles who bullied him with a shovel to protect the saplings he planted in the nursery, and being obsessed with Rome so he had to call Ning Caesar, and wanted to be Octavian, and so on. Paulina might think that it was not important for her to say these things, so once other gentlemen opened their mouths, she would shut up and give up the opportunity to talk. Then once no one talked to Ning, Paulina would start asking questions whenever there was a chance. And Ning always felt that this scene was a bit strange. However, in the eyes of the gentlemen and ladies who gathered around, this probably had a different meaning. More than one person politely asked Ning to introduce Paulina. When Ning finished the introduction, they all showed an expression of "Oh, I see." And Ning probably guessed what they understood, and was too lazy to correct it. This was just right. During the days that Ning was in Paris, the ladies lined up to send him letters to invite him to various tea parties, because in this era, it was assumed that a successful man had a lover, so everyone wanted to take this position. Now that Paulina occupied this position, and Ning was happy to be free. While the ladies expressed their dissatisfaction with Paulina's existence, the men came to Paulina one after another to dance, probably wanting to build a good relationship with someone who might have an influence on General Frost in the future. But Polina always claimed that she was tired of dancing and didn't want to leave the dance floor for the time being. And Ning joked, "You're tired even though you haven't danced a single song. It seems that the Brienne Military Academy didn't give you enough exercise." Polina, it's the same for you. Except for the first song that you had to dance, you were sitting on the sidelines the whole time. Do you know how many Parisian ladies were staring at you during the break after each song? How many? Tell me. Huh? About 5, no, 10. There must be 10. Polina said, as if to convince herself, and muttered softly, "Yes, there must be 10. And Ning, so there are 10 ladies who are eagerly looking forward to me inviting them to dance. So who are they? I'll invite them as you said and step on their feet one by one." Well. Polina never expected that someone would actually ask her to point out those ladies. She was caught off guard. She was hesitating before she realized the problem in Ning's words. "Wait a minute, what's the matter with stepping on her foot?" And Ning pointed at Christina, who was chatting with several ladies. "Didn't you notice that Christina walked a little unsteadily? That's because I stepped on her foot and bruised it during the first song. Now it hurts when she walks. I didn't mean to, but I'm not good at dancing." Polina, so there are things you're not good at? Of course there are things I'm not good at. I'm not a god. Polina looked at Ning suspiciously, "But my brother said you are omnipotent. He also said you can compose music. Romanode is the song you wrote. How can a musician not know how to dance? Do musicians have to dance?" "Some musicians." And Ning hesitated suddenly, because he couldn't think of any musician who couldn't dance. Come to think of it, musicians are very sensitive to melody, and it should be easy for them to dance to the rhythm of the music. "Polina, I don't believe you're a bad dancer, and I didn't notice Miss Christina staggering." "And Ning, you're planning to be stepped on, right? Well, I'll satisfy you. Wait, did you just take the initiative to invite a man to dance?" "Miss, this is not against the rules." "Polina, I thought the Republic would have its own new traditions. Didn't you say that women can hold up half the sky? How come half the sky is not even allowed to invite men to dance?" And Ning looked at Polina with his mouth half open. Now he was absolutely sure that this was Napoleon's sister. The way she had just debated with him looked a lot like Napoleon. "Well, you're right," and Ning smiled, "then you should do it and invite me to dance." "Huh?" Polina was stunned. "What do you mean by asking me to invite you?" "It means that you should come to me like a man, bend down to me, and then extend your hand. 'Dear Mr. Frost, may I have the honor to invite you to dance?'" Polina's face flushed. "What? This, so many people are watching." "It is because so many people are watching that it is a good opportunity to announce the birth of the new tradition of the Republic to everyone." Polina's face flushed, but suddenly she showed an expression of not admitting defeat. "Do you think I'm afraid? Invite me." After that, she walked to the front of Ning and coughed. As a result, this cough attracted the attention of everyone around. Polina became more embarrassed and her face flushed even redder, but she still said in a polite and gentlemanly tone, "Dear Mr. Frost, may I have the honor to invite you to dance?" As she said that, she extended her hand. And Ning smiled and put her hand on Pauline's palm. "Of course, I'm very happy to, Miss Pauline Bonaparte." Just like that, and Ning held Pauline's hand and stood up. Beethoven in the orchestra pit noticed that and Ning stood up, and gestured to the band to get ready. In general, in a dance party, the interval between two dances is theoretically the time for personal show. Men and women who like each other will ask the band for a request, and then perform a duet with a lady to the dance music they ordered separately. Such scenes have appeared in many movies, such as the new version of Zorro and the famous literary film Scent of a Woman. And Ning's scene memory was triggered, and he wanted to imitate the classic dance segment in Scent of a Woman, but unfortunately he was not sure whether Beethoven knew the dance music. It is said that the dance music was originally a folk song that has been circulated for a long time. With the idea of giving it a try, he shouted to Beethoven, "Por una cabeza." Beethoven nodded directly. He nodded. "It really exists." Then the music that touched Ning's DNA sounded. Hearing this music, Polina was shocked. "What, isn't this tango? Does it have to be so intense?" And Ning recalled Al Pacino's dance steps in Scent of a Woman and began to imitate him. Polina cried out, "I can't dance while following Ning's dance steps." Because of the poor coordination, Ning stepped on her feet repeatedly and accurately. Chapter 295 Veteran Frost's real battle is about to begin. Napoleon was enthusiastically telling Josephine about General Frost's foresight, when suddenly LaSalle ran to the terrace and shouted to him, "Hey, come and see, Your sister and Andy are dancing solo, and it's tango." Napoleon's attention was immediately drawn by this. "What? My sister is not very good at dancing. LaSalle, come on, after this song, you will be the second most popular person in Paris, and you will be unable to refuse all the invitations to the tea party." Napoleon was about to leave, but suddenly remembered that it was not good to leave Josephine alone, so he turned his head and said to Josephine, "Are you coming too?" Josephine smiled and said, "Of course." Then she naturally took Napoleon's arm. LaSalle showed a wow expression, looked Josephine up and down, and then looked at Napoleon with a complicated look, which probably meant, "Why do you like old people?" Napoleon was so focused on Frost and his sister dancing that he didn't understand the look in his friend's eyes. He dragged Josephine into the dance hall. The band was playing a typical tango, and Frost was twirling on the dance floor with Paulina in his arms. LaSalle, to be honest, it's not bad. After all, as long as there is passion in tango, everything else can be ignored. Napoleon's attention was on Paulina's face. "Oh my God, my sister must be so embarrassed. She is not good at this kind of scene." In fact, everyone can see that Paulina's face must be so hot that she can fry an egg. Napoleon was worried at first, but after watching for a while, he smiled and said, "It seems that Pauline is enjoying it. Don't worry too much about her. Josephine, you really love your sister very much, Mr. Bonaparte?" "Of course, my father died early, when she was 5 years old. As a brother, I actually play the role of a father. Which father doesn't want his daughter to be good?" Napoleon responded proudly. Fortunately, Pauline grew up well, beautiful and capable. LaSalle hurriedly complained, "It's a pity that her children will have to find a wet nurse in the future." Napoleon pursed his lips. "There is nothing perfect in this world, and there is nothing we can do about it." At this time, the tango dance came to an end, and the two people who were dancing passionately froze after the last note and looked at each other. Just when everyone thought they were going to hug and kiss, Pauline squatted down and hugged her Gio. Frost looked apologetic. "I told you I would step on your feet, but you didn't believe me. That's why I don't dance. I'm really not good at dancing." Then Frost shook his head and looked around. "So girls, for the sake of your feet, don't even think about dancing with me." Everyone looked at each other, and then some genius first thought that General Frost was telling a joke, so they burst into laughter. This ignited everyone's laughter, and everyone was laughing. And Ning scratched his head. He was not telling a joke just now, but just stating the facts. But everyone seemed to think this was humor, thinking that General Frost was using his humor to resolve the current embarrassment. "Forget it, it doesn't matter." And Ning stretched out his hand to Paulina. "Can you stand up?" "Of course, no problem." Paulina stood up stubbornly by herself, and then held in Ning's hand. Paulina's little temper was actually quite to Ning's liking. He was about to lead Paulina to the seat when he suddenly saw a rare group on the edge of the dance floor. Josephine Beauharnois holding Napoleon's hand. Ning was shocked. He originally thought that Napoleon in this time and space would never get involved with Josephine. As a result, at this moment, Ning suddenly felt a deep fear. He realized that his real enemy might be the terrifying existence called historical inertia. At the beginning of the French Revolution, in order to make it easier for him to control the direction of history and sit on the fence, Ning took the initiative to do a lot of things to maintain the original direction of history. For example, when the attack on the Bastille was blocked, he took the initiative to operate the cannon, and when Mirabeau did not stand up and shout out the famous saying, he stood up for him and took the famous saying for himself. Later, although Ning no longer forced himself to push history in the original direction, he did not care much about whether history changed. Then now, Ning's expectation has become to write his own new history, so he must prevent history from following the original direction. Because in the original direction, the real revolutionaries of the Jacobins would kill each other, and finally speculators like Barras would seize the Republic. Now Ning wants to completely erase this history and rewrite it into the good ending he imagined. This simple wish had arisen countless times before Ning traveled through time. For example, he once hoped that Campore had not been corrupted and would continue to stand with Sankara. He once hoped that Pinochet would shout "Uphold the Constitution" like the loyal general who was assassinated before when facing the temptation of the CIA. But now, history said to Ning with a cold voice, "Don't even think about it. Josephine will still be involved with Napoleon, just as Poincaré will still provoke the relationship between Robespierre and Danton." At this moment, Ning looked at Josephine and suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis. An idea was born in his mind. to kill speculators like prosperous before Robespierre and Danton broke up. The scene of playing Crusader Kings 2 immediately came to his mind, and Ning thought of countless assassination methods in an instant, including but not limited to exploding shit, balcony collapse, and putting snakes in Barris's bed. But there is a disadvantage to all these. Once the inside information is leaked, it will have a serious impact on Andy Frost's great and glorious image. After thinking about it, Ning felt that it was better to use the most popular method now, fabricate charges and send the other party to the guillotine through the court. Ning was thinking about this while pulling Polina back to her seat. That's right, I must not sit back and wait for death. Even if the opponent is a behemoth called history, I will fight to the last moment. It will never make me surrender. Andy Frost, a veteran who has been in battle for a long time, thought so. Just as Ning was shocked by history at the ball, in a club in London, Little Pitt, who was about to be elected as the next Prime Minister, was also making an impassioned speech. Ladies and gentlemen, because there was a tradition of the Glorious Revolution, many people in our Britain have sympathy and understanding for what is happening in France. But this is wrong. Although we launched the Glorious Revolution, in the end we still welcomed a new king as the head of Great Britain and the head of the Anglican Church. The French are actually going to subvert the aristocratic political tradition of thousands of years and subvert the order of Europe. Such heresy must not be allowed. Europe's history and tradition are indisputable facts, just like 2 + 2 = 4, just like the leaves are green in summer. Great Britain should no longer be satisfied with just provoking Europe to fight against France. The British Army and the Royal Navy are ready. Light the fire to prove that 2 + 2 = 4. We will use the sword to prove that the leaves are green in summer. We are ready. Pitt the Younger's speech received warm applause. However, there was one person who was unmoved. Arthur Wellesley was racking his brains for a sonnet for the goddess in his heart, and was not listening to the speech of the future Prime Minister. Chapter 296, A layman dives into the whirlpool of Paris. After the ball, Ning immediately began to plan to kill prosperous. This guy was one of the main driving forces behind Robespierre's execution. After a few days of hard work, Ning desperately discovered that his ability to play politics was basically zero, and he had no idea what to do. Ning had no idea who to find to collect black materials and what black materials to collect to send Barris to the guillotine. The worst thing was that because he had been away from Paris for a long time to engage in military affairs, Ning's current connections were all in the army, and he was not familiar with any of the gentlemen in the parliament except for the few who had drunk and played cards in the Jacobin Club before. In military affairs, Ning could count out a dozen people he could trust and assign tasks to them with confidence, but in politics, Ning could only do everything himself. These days, Ning was desperately chatting with people in the club and drinking tea in the salon, just to find a trustworthy thug to deal with Barris's affairs. After all, Ning himself was too conspicuous in Paris, and there would be a lot of people paying attention to whatever he did. As a result of this activity, Ning experienced the dilemma of the past. No, it cannot be said that year, because Sir Cumming was not born for more than 100 years. It should be said that future Sir Cumming was suddenly sent to work as an intelligence agent. He was in the dark, he knew nothing, and he could only saw his thighs to find a sense of existence. In the end, Ning thought a little desperately, why not just be a dictator, just drag him up and chop him off to save trouble. But once he becomes a dictator, Danton and Robespierre will immediately become his enemies. Especially Robespierre. That would be putting the cart before the horse. In the end, Ning had no choice but to consult his future wife. At noon that day, he pulled Christina, who was about to go out for a tea party, into a side room in the royal palace, and then instructed Fanny, make sure no one around can hear us talking, including yourself. Fanny bowed silently and left. Then Ning looked at Christina seriously. Christina swallowed her saliva. What are you doing? You're making me nervous. Ning, is there any way to kill prosperous? Christina was stunned. Huh? Ning repeated her question in a low voice. Christina, oh, how did he offend you? Why, so suddenly? In order to change the course of history, the culprit who usurped the republic must be killed first. But Ning couldn't say it so directly, so he beat around the bush and said, I have a feeling that speculators like him will be detrimental to the republic. Christina, is he already detrimental to the republic? Then why not just hand him over to the National Salvation Committee? If you report him, he will definitely go straight to the guillotine. Ning licked her lips. This is the biggest problem. He hasn't done anything detrimental to the republic, at least not yet. Not only that, Paris did a good job in the countryside as a special commissioner, and he was a man who had made contributions to suppressing rebellions. Christina looked at Ning in confusion. You can't send a person to the guillotine just because you think you will do bad things in the future. Andy, what's wrong with you? This doesn't seem like something you would do as a wise and principled person. And Ning was completely unable to refute his fiancée's words. Christina added, but I will pay attention to Barris's movements. In fact, I heard some information. There's more than one gentleman in Paris who often communicates with Barris, and he also hired people to send him newspapers every day by express horse. At this time, he hired so many riders and horses to do this. Mr. Barris is very rich. Maybe I can collect some evidence of his wealth. And Ning, yes, that's it. Please. Christina nodded, well, leave it to me. But I still don't understand why you hate Mr. Barris so much all of a sudden. Didn't you get along well with him before? That's because I was still thinking like a fence sitter at that time. And Ning patted Christina's shoulder heavily, and then excused himself. I'm worried about Maximilian. He is too upright and must have offended a lot of people. I always feel that one day in the future, he will be sent to the guillotine because he has sent too many people to the guillotine. Christina, Paris is praising him now, because after the establishment of the National Salvation Committee, the cases of indiscriminate killings and lynchings have been greatly reduced. That's now. And Ning replied. Christina, okay, you always have a foresight that is far beyond that of ordinary people. I don't know what you have seen, but I will help you. And Ning, also, pay attention to Danton and find out who he is in contact with. Christina was shocked. Are you going to deal with him too? No, I just want to find out who is influencing him. The friendship between Danton and Maximilian is actually not as solid as it seems. I want to ensure their friendship. Yes, ensuring that Danton and Robespierre do not break up is also one of the means to fight against history. Christina nodded seriously. Okay, I will pay attention. And Ning breathed a sigh of relief. Although he didn't know whether Christina's skills in this area were reliable, he finally found someone to do the job. It's a pity that his plugin can't see the character's panel attributes. If he could see other people's attributes, he must find a wife with high conspiracy ability. As long as he has a wife with high conspiracy ability as the spy chief, and then works hard to build a good relationship with her, and keep the relationship degree above 60, he can effectively avoid his character from being inexplicably killed. And Ning, an old player of the Crusader Kings series, thought so. The problem is that Ning doesn't know how much conspiracy ability Christina has. It's better to have double insurance. After coming out of the side room with Christina, Ning glanced at Fanny, and suddenly lowered his voice and asked her in a low voice, is there any way you can help me get rid of someone? Fanny was shocked. She looked at Ning and answered seriously, General, I am a maid. And Ning, yes, you are a maid. Shouldn't a maid be omnipotent in intelligence? When necessary, she can take out a DSHK machine gun from her skirt and shoot in a standing position. The more extreme maids can also throw flying knives, stop time and throw steamrollers. Fanny looked at Ning as if he were a fool, and finally made him dispel his unreasonable expectations of his own maid. At this moment, Fanny sighed, it's already very difficult for me to deal with the spies who are trying to insert into the royal palace by all means. Don't add to my burden. This time it was Ning's turn to be shocked. You are a maid. And Ning lowered her voice and continued, then if one day, I want you to serve a gentleman a glass of poisonous wine, what can you do? Fanny stared at Ning for a few seconds before she spoke. Some boundaries, once crossed, can never be returned. Are you sure you want to change from a hero to a tyrant? And Ning wanted to say, no one who rules must be innocent, but he hesitated. At least at this point in time, he still wanted to continue to be a righteous hero who was great and glorious from the inside out. Chapter 297 Results. Although Ning was worried about Christina's ability to plot, the result came soon. A few days later, Christina found Ning. Danton seems to have some complaints about Robespierre now. And Ning looked at his fiancée. How do you know? His mistress said so. Christina shrugged. Danton complained to his mistress more than once, saying Maximilian is too extreme, there should be more appropriate ways. And Ning couldn't help but hold his forehead. Is it really so? Although he only complained when he was in bed with his mistress, a 1,000-mile dam was destroyed by an anthole. In the original history, Danton gradually changed from a radical to a tolerant party after seeing unrestrained violence. Now this process has begun. and Ning touched his chin and thought about countermeasures. Maybe Danton can leave Paris and go to the more stable south. After all, the royalists in the south have been bombarded with the grape shot by Napoleon, and they are more honest. Give Danton a job in the south, such as formulating local laws and regulations. But, will Danton leave? Without talking about Danton in history, from Ning's experience of being friends with Danton for so many years, this guy will not leave Paris easily. He also has ambitions and aspirations that can only be realized on the stage of Paris. Maybe I should take the initiative to talk to Danton. While Ning was thinking about this, Christina continued, I actually admire you very much. You got it right again. And Ning could only smile bitterly. Christina, but what are you going to do? Go directly to Danton to confront him? Let him give up this idea? That will only backfire. I think it's better to play with him more, play bridge, and let him vent his dissatisfaction. And Ning nodded, okay. But Christina said again, but if you do this, it will definitely trigger a chain reaction. Paris will think that you support Danton, and the balance of power in the parliament will change immediately. In Paris now, whoever you are close to will have his power expanded. And Ning couldn't help but hold his forehead. Yes, there is still this problem. But things still need to be done, and the opportunity for the two to break up must be suppressed at the spark stage. And Ning, I need an itinerary that will give Danton and I enough time to chat. Christina, Danton will attend the ball at the Malmaison castle tonight, are you going? And Ning frowned. Why this place? Does Danton often go to the Malmaison castle? And Ning asked. Christina, yes, often, because his mistress and his wife both have a good relationship with Madame Beauharnais. And Ning cursed inwardly, damn it. At this time, Josephine Beauharnais was writing a letter to Paul Barras. Dear Barras, I have some news to tell you that you will definitely be interested in. First of all, I have a new good friend. He is Brigadier General Napoleon Bonaparte, a close confidant of General Frost. I often have a great chat with him in the salon. The second is Danton, the one you call the square-headed lion. He seems to have some objections to Robespierre's actions. Many gentlemen in Paris have already sensed this tendency, so all those who secretly opposed Robespierre have quietly contacted him. But now he and Robespierre are still close comrades in arms, advancing and retreating together in Parliament. In time, the situation in Paris will probably change a lot because of this. There is another piece of news that you will be interested in. General Frost has recently frequently participated in social activities in Paris, and his fiancée has also been frequently inquiring about intelligence. This lovely fiancée is still a novice in inquiring about intelligence. She seems to be too inclined. I have reason to believe that General Frost is wary of you, and he is very likely to collect information about your wealth accumulation. You'd better take care of yourself. Now General Frost can send anyone he reports to the guillotine. My suggestion is that you better come to Paris in person and express your loyalty to General Frost. Love you, Josephine Beauharnais in Malmaison. After Josephine finished writing the letter, she carefully put it into a thick envelope, then picked up a candle and dripped a few drops of wax on the opening of the envelope, and then used the patterned side of her ring to press a clear mark on it. This is a means of ensuring that the letter is not opened in this era. The patterns on the ring are specially cast, and once there is a problem with the pattern on the sealing wax, it can be known that the letter has been opened. Then Josephine looked up at the cavalry lieutenant Charles, who was sitting on the sofa in the study and waiting quietly. Please give this letter to Paul Barras. Make sure that the content of the letter is not known to anyone other than Barras. Charles took the letter. Give it to me, even I won't know the content of the letter. After he turned around and was about to leave, Josephine pulled him, leaned close to his cheek, and kissed him lightly. The young cavalry lieutenant seemed to be excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. I'm leaving. After saying that, he turned around and went out excitedly. Josephine turned to the window on the second floor and waited for the lieutenant to appear at the door. She did not wait long. As soon as the lieutenant walked out of the castle, he looked back at the window where Josephine was. After the two met eyes, Josephine smiled and waved to him. Yes, this is the strength of Josephine Beauharnais. She knows how to play young men around and make them work for her wholeheartedly. Josephine had no doubt that the letter would be delivered to Paul Barras tonight. Cavalry Lieutenant Charles galloped all the way to the post station and shouted to the inn owner before he got off the horse, "Change horses." When the innkeeper heard the voice, he knew that it was a regular customer, so he personally led out the saddled horse. At this time, there was a complex sound of horse hooves on the road. Charles knew that a group of cavalry were running towards the inn. He turned around and saw a small group of cavalrymen raising dust and running towards this side at a sprint speed. This is not common. Horses will get tired after running at such a speed. What is even more unusual is that each of these cavalrymen also brought a replacement horse, which was obviously to ensure that they could gallop all the way and let the horses rest by changing horses. Charles shouted curiously, "Where are you going? Do you have any urgent tasks?" The leading cavalry officer stopped his horse in front of Charles, then raised the wind and rain lantern to observe Charles' face. "Cavalry Lieutenant, very good." The officer said, "Are you Cavalry Lieutenant Charles?" "I am." Charles had not yet reacted. "What's wrong?" "I am Noah Chanmurat, an officer of the guard directly under General Frost. We are very sure that you have a secret letter of counter-revolution. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298 Christina's Ingenious Calculation. Charles was immediately tied up and put on one of the cavalrymen's spare horses. These spare horses were to give the horses a chance to rest while galloping. Now that the cavalry had caught the target, there was no need to gallop anymore. The horses could be let trot, which consumed very little of the horses' energy. Because of this, the spare horses that had been running along were even a little bit happy. But Charles' mood had hit rock bottom. At this time, as if in response to his mood, heavy rain fell, and a flash of lightning streaked across the sky. Murat's cavalry continued to advance in the heavy rain. The light of the handheld wind and rain lanterns could only illuminate the area near the horses, and there was endless darkness outside. Charles had an illusion that there was something terrible lurking in the rain. He swore that he had seen it more than once, so he trembled and said to Murat, "Something is chasing us." "Murat, nothing is chasing us. It's just the lightning in the sky that illuminates the trees on the ground. It's just a shadow, understand?" "Charles, something is definitely following us." Seeing Charles so nervous, Murat laughed even more happily. "Is it the same problem for everyone who has been hit in the sore spot by General Frost?" The Austrians insisted that the general summoned the Roman legion on the battlefield. These warriors who had fought for 100 years responded to the loyalty that never ended until death and roared and defeated the Austrian army. They described it so vividly. If I hadn't been there, I might have believed it. You can tell anyone about your current neurosis later. The general doesn't care about these rumors. Charles turned his head and looked behind him while listening to Murat's words. "Charles, don't you think the darkness behind is like a monster that keeps chasing us?" Murat turned back hesitantly, looked for a few seconds and then nodded. "It is a bit similar. I didn't realize you are so talented in writing, but this kind of metaphor is not uncommon in the poems of bards." Unlike Murat, Charles was extremely nervous now. Everything he saw looked like a dormant beast that wanted to devour him. Finally, the rain thinned a little, and the lights of the Palace of Versailles appeared faintly in front of him. It looked like an island of light that suddenly appeared on the dark sea, which seemed particularly suitable for some Cthulhu story. Especially when a woman holding a storm lantern stood in front of the main entrance of the palace, it looked even more so. Murat said to the person waiting at the door of the palace, who looked like a maid, "I have caught the person back. Please go and inform the future Lady Christina and General Frost." The maid said, "If I am not mistaken, the heavy footsteps should be Miss Christina, who was running very fast. She should have seen you coming on the terrace." As soon as he finished speaking, the gate of the palace opened, and Andy Frost's fiancée, Christina de Lestal, the sister of the former king, appeared, followed by the man who made the whole of Paris want to kneel down and lick his boots. Miss Christina looked very happy. "See. I said we can catch him, he definitely has what we need." Mr. Frost did not comment. He stared at Murat and confirmed, "He didn't eat a letter, did he?" Murat took out an envelope with a wax seal from his arms. "No, sir. Because you warned that a dedicated spy might do this, I have been very careful. He was searched 3 times, and I am sure that he only has this one thing that looks like a secret letter." And Ning reached out to take it, but was snatched away by Christina. "Well, the pattern on the wax seal is Madame Beauharnais' ring seal. She always carries this thing with her and wears it on her hand. It is difficult to steal and copy." "General Frost, that's great. Let's see what they are going to do." Christina held the letter high, even standing on tiptoe. Frost naturally couldn't miss the letter, but he didn't snatch it by force. Instead, he looked at his fiancée and said, "Well, is there any special ceremony to read the letter?" Christina smiled and said, "You should ask me why I know that this letter from Madame Beauharnais is unusual." General Frost shrugged and asked, "Why are you so sure that there is something wrong with this letter?" Christina changed the letter to her left hand and stretched out 3 fingers on her right hand. "After investigation, I found that people who communicate with Mr. Barris can be roughly divided into 3 categories. The first category is letters that are occasionally sent, but they may not receive a reply from Mr. Barris. This kind of letter seems to be a request from Barris by gentlemen in Paris, and they write letters to beg him. This kind of letter usually goes through the postal system, and occasionally it is forwarded by acquaintances. The second type will be sent irregularly, but it will definitely receive a reply from Mr. Barris, and the reply will trigger the action of replying. This type of letter seems to be a normal pen-pal interaction, and the first type should be Barris's political ally or potential ally. This type of letter also goes through the public postal system. The third type is sent at a fixed time, and Mr. Barris will not receive a reply. And this type of letter is delivered to him by riders and horses, specially hired by Mr. Barris. I speculate that this is the regular report that Barris's spies in Paris send to him." Christina paused, and Frost asked cooperatively, "So? Which type does Josephine belong to?" "Christina, don't worry, Josephine's letters to Barris have neither a fixed time nor a reply from Barris, but she will definitely let the person she trusts most deliver them." Hearing Christina say the words "the person she trusts most," Charles, who had been listless, suddenly became energetic. "What? I am the person I trust most? Doesn't that mean?" Christina looked at Charles with pity and said, "What a poor guy who has been bewitched by Madame Beauharnais. Don't dream. Madame Beauharnais is only interested in people who have achieved success." "General Frost, don't interrupt, go on. Let the most trusted person deliver it. What's next?" "There's nothing next. I speculated based on this that there must be something wrong with this letter. After all, Madame Beauharnais' loyal lover will not open the letter, and can ensure that the letter is delivered to Barris intact." "Frost, so, you have no actual evidence at all, and you just arrested him based on your intuition? What if you open the letter and find that it contains cheesy love words, and you let someone you trust deliver it because it's too cheesy? Then what should you do?" Christina shrugged. "In that case, I'll have to ask you to accompany me to the Malmaison castle to apologize to Madame Beauharnais." "Frost, that's it? That's all?" "Christina, what else?" General Frost sighed and raised his hand to his forehead. Charles watched the conversation between the two throughout the whole process, and finally realized what kind of situation he had gotten himself into. It was just a letter, but tomorrow he might be labeled an enemy of the Republic and sent to the guillotine. Chapter 299 Mr. Charles, Zabinku invites you. And Ning finally took the letter from Christina. He found that it was raining so hard outside that Murat was soaked, but the letter was completely fine. This would not be a big deal in the future, just put it in a plastic bag. But now it is still hundreds of years away from the invention of plastic. Holding the dry envelope, and Ning felt Murat's meticulous attention to details. He was indeed a different kind of reckless man like LaSalle, although he was also a cavalryman. And Ning was about to open the letter directly, but then he remembered that opening a letter directly in this era was very ceremonial and would be ridiculed. So Ning took the letter and started walking towards the study. Murat asked Ning, "Then what about this person? We need him to testify in court to prove that this is indeed a letter from Paul Barris and his mistress. So Murat, you should use some methods to ensure that this gentleman will serve us wholeheartedly. For example, a powerful spirit injection stick or something like that." Murat understood what he meant and was about to take his men away, but Fanny stopped him. "Actually, it's okay if you don't want to do it. You can hire a few executioners. They should be happy to correct the life trajectory of Charles." "Murat, who is more cruel, you or me, executioner? Do you want them to bring the guillotine over and assemble it?" "Fanny, anyway, I've said what I want to say. I don't want to carry a heavy psychological burden in the future because I personally tortured the surrendered prisoners." Murat nodded, then left with Mr. Charles and his subordinates. And Ning didn't care about that. He hurried back to the study, picked up the letter opener, carefully opened the envelope, and took out the letter inside. He began to read. Christina came behind Ning and leaned over to read the letter together. Because of the posture, Christina's chest muscles directly cushioned Ning's crown. Suddenly, Christina said in surprise, "Look, here." Christina read aloud, "The second is Danton, the Danton you call the square-headed lion. He seems to have some objections to Robespierre's approach. Many gentlemen in Paris have already sensed this tendency, so all those who secretly opposed Robespierre quietly contacted him. But now he and Robespierre are still close comrades in arms, advancing and retreating together in Parliament. In time, the situation in Paris will probably change a lot because of this." And Ning, "That's right, after reading the whole article, only here is a problem. No, there is a big problem here. Paul Barras is trying to split Robespierre and Jacques Danton. This is the ironclad evidence. In time, it means that when the time is right, Paul Barras will come to usurp the Republic. You know what, he really did that in history. The Directory established by Paul Barras and the Thermidorians was a combination of a group of speculators who were desperate to enrich themselves. If it weren't for Lazzarcano constantly organizing the Revolutionary Army, and Napoleon's march all the way from Italy to Vienna, the Directory would have barely existed for a few years. Even if Robespierre went crazy in his later years, he was better than this kind of speculator. At least Robespierre was still doing things with a belief of building a France of freedom, equality and fraternity. And Ning became more and more excited as he thought about it. After reading the entire letter carefully, he went back to look at the problematic sentences. He suddenly became unsure, so he asked Christina, "Do you think the National Salvation Committee might send Paul Barras to the guillotine because of this evidence?" "Christina, you don't have to worry about that. Not to mention that we have evidence. Even if there is no evidence, if you stand up and insist that Paul Barras is guilty of treason, no one will refute you. The angry trousers man might even hang Barras on a street lamp in the street." Christina paused, read the words in the letter again, and then sighed. "I thought you were overthinking before, but I didn't expect that they really wanted to provoke Danton and Robespierre. Your performance in these matters is just like..." Christina did not continue, and Ning did not ask. His attention was completely focused on using the black material he had obtained to frame Paul Barras. Josephine Beauharnais did not sleep well tonight. He suddenly felt inexplicably flustered at night. In this era, people have no idea what causes panic, and there is no specific medicine that can quickly relieve the symptoms. She could only sit up and look at the heavy rain outside on the terrace. The wind was very strong tonight, and the wind was howling with the rain, as if foreshadowing something. Looking at the strong wind and heavy rain, Beauharnais became even more irritable. Her intuition was rarely wrong. After pacing back and forth restlessly for a long time, Josephine Beauharnais decided to go directly to Barras. Because she thought about it, only this matter could be wrong. The letter. He called his groom to prepare the horse, then went to the table and quickly wrote several notes, and then found some gifts to attach, and asked the servants to deliver them to the gentlemen's homes mentioned in the notes early tomorrow morning. These people include, but are not limited to, Paul Barras's allies and those who are privately dissatisfied with Robespierre. If Barras really gets into trouble and things are irreversible, maybe he can still ask for help from these people. After arranging everything, the groom brought news that the carriage was ready. Josephine Beauharnais immediately went downstairs and went to the inner courtyard of Malmaison Castle. The carriage stopped in the sparse rain curtain, and the wind and rain lamp swayed in the wind. Josephine's groom was wearing a straw raincoat and holding a pistol in his hand. There were a total of 5 layers of 10 pistols in the weapon cabinet in front of him. Each one was loaded and could be fired as long as it was picked up and poured into the medicine pool. After all, it is not peaceful now that you have left Paris. There are robbers and rebels everywhere. With this level of armament, there is at least hope to scare off those who have ulterior motives. Josephine entered the carriage with the help of the servant, and then knocked on the front window glass of the carriage. The groom immediately waved the whip and urged the horse to speed up gradually. Josephine patted the window worriedly. "Hurry up." The coachman shook his head and said, "It's raining so hard, the road is muddy, we can't go fast, Mom. We have to hurry, please." Josephine begged like this. She didn't say why she was so anxious. After all, she couldn't let more people realize that there might be some fatal information in the letter. Now Josephine wanted to fly to Barras immediately. In his fantasy, Barras was reading the letter he wrote yesterday, and Charles was standing beside him, quietly waiting to bring back his message. If only everything was just his unfounded worry. Chapter 300 Mobius Ring. The next morning, Ning specially prepared the documents of the report, put them together with a copy of the letter as important evidence, took a clip and got on the carriage and set off. Christina wanted to follow to watch the fun, but was reminded by Fanny that there were 2 tea parties today, so she could only say goodbye to Ning reluctantly. And Ning took the documents and went straight to the National Salvation Committee. As soon as he arrived at the committee, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. Someone immediately came up to him enthusiastically. "General, are you here to inspect the work of the committee?" And Ning frowned. "There is no superior-subordinate relationship between me and the committee, so it is not a matter of inspecting work or not inspecting work. I am reporting the enemies of the Republic." "Really? Thank you so much, we will take it seriously. Mr. Robespierre is in the office, I will take you there now." And Ning hesitated for a moment. He originally thought that he was here to handle official business and did not think of visiting Robespierre to get in through the back door through personal connections. But since the clerk had said so, it would be inappropriate for him not to visit Robespierre. He might have a lot of rumors in the afternoon. So Ning nodded. "Take me there." A moment later, he met Robespierre, the head of the National Salvation Committee. Robespierre was a little surprised. "Andy? Why are you here? What happened?" And Ning raised the folder in his hand to him. "I came to report the enemies of the Republic to you. You would never have thought that someone was deliberately trying to sow discord between you and Danton." Robespierre was furious. "What? There is such a thing? Although Danton and I often quarreled until we were red in the face, it was just a normal disagreement between comrades and a friendly exchange. Andy, give me what you have in your hand. I want to see who is so ungrateful." And Ning handed over the folder in his hand. Robespierre immediately put on a pair of thicker glasses and began to read the contents of the document, muttering as he read, "Josephine Beauharnais and Paul Barras, I should have thought of it earlier, I should have thought of it earlier." He looked up at Ning. "You probably don't know that when you were fighting in Italy, this Mr. Barras has been trying to integrate into the small circle formed by me, Danton, and Marat, but has not been very successful. Because we can all see that he is not a determined reformer. He did not join this ranks because of the establishment of a republic of freedom, equality and fraternity. He is not." And Ning thought that was not the case. Barras had two sides in French history. On the one hand, he was indeed a speculator who seized the opportunity to rise to prominence and became one of the 5 directors of the Directory. In the end, he even monopolized power. On the other hand, his personal strength should also be recognized. At least when he put down the rebellions in Nice and Toulon, he showed quite good talents. In fact, several representative speculators and fence-sitters during the Great Revolution were not bad in themselves. For example, Fouché established a modern police system for France, which has benefited France until the modern time. And Talleyrand also promoted the development of the revolution on his own at several key points. And Ning did not think about turning Barras and others into his subordinates. But now, in order to save Robespierre and Danton, he must take the initiative and cannot wait for Barras to sow discord and achieve his own goals. It is a pity that Ning came up with the idea of influencing the course of history too late, otherwise he could have become Barras's mentor and beacon in advance, just like he did with Napoleon. However, at that time, Ning's idea was to sit on the fence and be a rich man, watching the changes in the situation. At this point, Barras had to leave early. After reading the black materials submitted by Ning, Robespierre decisively slammed the table. "The evidence is conclusive. But basic procedural justice must still be observed. Let's get started. First, send the subpoena to Paul Barras." And Ning nodded. "Yes, procedural justice is to ensure fairness to the bottom line, let's do it." However, Ning thought in his heart that as long as he showed his intention to send Barras to the guillotine, the gentlemen of the jury would understand the righteousness. It's not bad to give Barras a chance to defend himself at this time, which can highlight the fairness and greatness of the Republic. At this time, Robespierre stood up. "But why did you suddenly think of targeting Paul Barras? I have the impression that you have a good relationship." "Ning, your impression is wrong. My previous contact with Mr. Barras was only because he was a special envoy of the Parliament." "Robespierre, but I always feel like you seem to know Mr. Barras very well." "Of course I do, I'm a history enthusiast." "Ning, that's just because I've heard some rumors." Robespierre shrugged, then thought of something else. "By the way, we have to let Danton know about this. I'll write a note to Danton. I'm against sending Paul Barras to the guillotine like this." Georges-Jacques Danton stormed into Robespierre's office angrily, and the first thing he said was this. Ning and Robespierre were drinking tea, and at this time they all looked at Danton. "Ning, look at this, the evidence is conclusive. He provoked the relationship between you and Robespierre." Danton: "Yes, but so what? Isn't what Madame Beauharnais said in the letter true? I do not agree with some of Maximilian's practices. Why should Madame Beauharnais' lover be sent to the guillotine just because she told the truth? Robespierre, he is an ambitious man and a speculator. You and I both know that his loyalty to the Republic is far less than his loyalty to himself. I know. Danton interrupted Robespierre, but we can't send a person to the guillotine for this. And in my opinion, Mr. Prosperous is quite talented. He has only been the special commissioner for a few months, but he has quelled the rebellion in the dispatch area and eliminated the royalists. The Republic needs his talents. Danton continued to shout, "No, no." As the party who is provoked, I firmly oppose sending Prosperous to the guillotine for such a thing. His square face flushed red, and he did look a bit like an angry lion. And Ning looked at Danton in shock. A terrible thought arose in his mind. My efforts to change the final break between Robespierre and Danton instead became an opportunity for the rift between them to widen? Then an even more terrible idea was born. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.